He's the sole heir to an underworld empire. His great-grandfather was the biggest arms dealer in the Middle East, his grandfather, a legendary Mafia don whose very name made the heavens tremble. His parents are the underground emperors, holding this entire city in the palms of their hands. But for this Mafia prince, carrying such a heavy legacy on his shoulders, he just really loved to study. All day, he wanted to hug his textbooks and read from morning until night. The second he told his dad about studying to get into Harvard, his father silently unbuckled his belt. College. I'll give you a college-sized beating. Their family owns hundreds of illegal businesses. What could algebra and physics possibly do for him? He was pissing me off. Today, I'm going to beat you senseless. Seeing this, our hero sighed helplessly. It wasn't that he didn't want to be a rich playboy. The problem was, would the system even allow it? That's right. He's been reincarnated. This time, he was reborn into the infamous, prestigious Sterling family. And just as he was set to enjoy a life of pure luxury, bam, the Supreme Tutor System activated with one simple condition for its host. He had to study hard and spread positive energy. Do that and he'd not only get all kinds of rewards, but he could also increase his own lifespan. Hearing this, he just laughed out loud. With a family background like his, who needs that? Study, forget that. In this life, he was determined to be the ultimate bad boy. System, get lost. I'm not studying. What can you possibly do about it? The very next second, a countdown timer flashed right before his eyes. It read, lifespan remaining, 3 minutes and 23 seconds. At that exact moment, he was lying comatose in the Sterling family mansion. His heart rate was dropping fast. The heart monitors went berserk, beeping like crazy. More than a dozen of the world's top doctors started panicking. The head of the Sterling family, Richard the Boss Sterling, roared from nearby, "Are you guys defusing a bomb or something? What the hell is going on with my son?" A doctor turned to him, defeated. "Boss Sterling, the young master, I'm afraid he won't make it." Through the night, the father heard this, nodded calmly and said, "So, you're saying my son will be up and walking around tonight?" The doctor was baffled. He quickly tried to clarify, "No, I mean the young master is going to pass away tonight." Hearing that, his mother burst into tears. "My baby, don't leave me. Mommy promises I won't stop you from playing Genshin Impact all night anymore." Just as she said that, the heart monitor on screen suddenly showed a miracle. Our hero, who was on the brink of death just moments ago, suddenly sat bolt upright. That's right, he had given in. A real man knows when to surrender. He'd study like his life depended on it, because it literally did. He would just grind out a few hundred years of lifespan first, then he'd figure out the rest. This sudden revival scared the absolute daylights out of everyone. He looked right at his crying mother and declared with total, unwavering determination, "Mom, don't worry. From now on, I will study my heart out. I will be a student. I'm going to give back to society." In the future, the moment those words came out, his crying mother froze completely. Then she collapsed right into his father's arms. "Our son has gone mad." The mother gasps. Did he really just utter that blasphemous word, studying? The father pats her back to comfort her. "It's okay, honey. Even if I have to kidnap every doctor in the world, I'll cure our son's brain damage." Luke insists his brain is perfectly fine. To prove it, he performs a flawless backflip right out of bed. The doctors nearby watch with their jaws practically hitting the floor. What kind of medical miracle is this? 1 second, he was a half-dead vegetable. The next, he's doing breakdance moves. Luke walks to his parents. "Seriously, Dad, Mom, maybe he didn't care about the family business before and caused them massive trouble. But this time, he's dead serious. He'll study properly and enter a top-tier university." His father looks at him with a solemn expression. Then he suddenly whips out his leather belt. "You brat, if you dare study properly, I'll bulldoze your entire school to the ground." Luke realizes this world is totally insane. His dad swings the belt, slicing through the air like a helicopter rotor while he cursed and whipped around. Study? How could you say something so devoid of conscience? Did your great-grandpa study? Did I study? If your grandpa knew you were this useless, he would pop the lid off his coffin and crawl back up. At this point, Luke is completely speechless. What fresh vocabulary and unreasonable demands. Seeing the old man getting emotional, Luke sincerely admits he was wrong. He promises he'll try his best at being a playboy. He won't even take exams for community college. He will just drop out after high school. Seeing this, his mother hurriedly chimes in. All right, the boy knows he's wrong. Stop blowing your top. It was hard enough for him to wake up. What if you beat him into another coma? Dad finally straps the belt back around his waist. Knowing your mistakes and fixing them, that's my boy. Also, do not forget your task. Stop hanging out with that girl from the Wang family. All you do is hit on girls and go to clubs. You don't learn anything productive. Your mission is to chase after the eldest daughter of the White family, Bianca White. Marry her for me. With the White family backing us, I can hand the family empire over to you. Understood, Luke nods like a woodpecker. Crystal clear, Dad. Leaving the room, Luke trudges back to his bedroom. They say normal people cannot achieve great things. Now it seems they were absolutely right. The words normal people do not even belong in his dad's dictionary. In his room, Luke notices his phone has tons of unread messages. Opening them, he is immediately stunned. There are over a dozen texts from a girl named Bianca White. Tapping the chat, a massive wall of text appears before his eyes. Luke, are you dead yet? Better if you were, thinking how a high-class lady like me has to marry a useless, incompetent pretty boy like you. It makes me nauseous. An arranged marriage, how ridiculous. I know your dad, just like mine, forced you to approach me. I always thought if you were a real man, you would fiercely resist and keep your distance from me, but you didn't. Every time you ask me out. I despise you even more, Luke. It's been so long without a reply. You are probably he might never wake up, but at least he spoke his mind. Felt way better now. Luke, let's never meet again. He had to complete his dad's specific task. You and I are seeing the original body owner, a total school bully. He once blocked the gate with flowers and hijacked the school's broadcast room, confessing his love to Bianca White in front of everyone for hours on end. 2.5 hours, to a high society girl like Bianca, this was brutish. Honestly, it was like taking a dump in the middle of a crowded street. A toxic one, too. He really inherited Richard Sterling's premium, unhinged genes. Doing things the most chaotic way possible, our main character could only sigh. He turned off the phone. He already transmigrated. Who wants to be a simp? Forget that. Stacking up his lifespan and fighting to stay alive is the priority. Survival first. He must study, but his parents, they were totally against it. Against his education, yet his bookshelf was actually packed with brand new books. This is rare, but when he pulled a few out, he was totally speechless. 18 ways to pick up girls, advanced anatomy for street brawls. This is madness. 10 secrets to ultimate alpha male energy. Is this really for a high schooler? After digging around for a bit, he finally found Martial Arts of the Dragon Kingdom. Holding this book, he felt like he hit gold, real gold, finally something useful. More like sifting for gold in a septic tank. Anyone feel this guy's pain? He licked his finger and started flipping through the pages rapidly. Then, a miracle. Notification, reading Martial Arts of the Dragon Kingdom. Lifespan increased by 1 minute. Plus another minute, +1 to martial arts proficiency. This changes the game. Wait, could it be? Reading specific books grants corresponding skills from them. Instantly, you and I see his eyes dart toward that ultimate alpha guide. A meaningful smirk appeared on his face. He started reading it intently. System detected he's reading 10 secrets to ultimate alpha male energy. Shameless. The system was judging him. He almost popped his eyes out at that. What the heck, system? Just like that, he read until 10 p.m. By then, his martial arts skill reached level 4. Lifespan hit 13 days. Not bad at all. Lying in bed, he secretly swore a serious oath. Tomorrow he must become a student thirsty for knowledge, no matter what. Scholars chiseled through walls for light. Today, Luke will study in shadows. Even if his parents disown him, nothing stops his path to academia. The next morning, he woke up in a bedroom measuring thousands of square feet. Huge, dozens of maids were already waiting to dress him and wash his face. Feeding him breakfast, too. It was top-tier, 5-star service, no doubt about it. Next, a few butlers escorted him to a luxury Rolls-Royce, pure class. After everything was done, butlers escorted him to a Rolls-Royce before leaving. A butler reminded him, "Young master, after arriving at school, remember your father's instructions. Do not listen to lectures and absolutely do not study. The most urgent matter is dating. You must successfully woo Miss Bianca. Here we go again, bye." He smiled bitterly and waved to them. 10 minutes later, the luxury car parked in front of the school gates. Cloud City's 13th high school, the school with the absolute worst environment. Teaching quality, mediocre. This is where his journey starts. Let's watch. This school's discipline was a joke. Bullies and delinquents basically ran the place. Teachers, the principal, they all just looked the other way. It was that kind of school. One where the teen pregnancy rate was higher than the college acceptance rate. So you might wonder, why would a wealthy, high-status heir attend a place like this? This rundown school, simple. His old man set it all up. He wanted his son to grow up in this brutal environment, hoping he'd become just as unhinged and crazy as him. But here's another question. Why would someone with a prestigious background like Bianca White be here? Same exact reason. The head of the White family arranged it. Education is important, sure, but compared to family benefits, it means absolutely nothing when you look back through history. Using kids as political pawns is nothing new, especially when the family has plenty of spares. Bianca was exactly that. It's just that her class was the only one of its kind in the school the moment Luke stepped out of the school gates. A crew with neon-dyed hair immediately surrounded him. "Boss Luke, you're back," he glanced over. According to his predecessors' memories, these punks were the underlings he'd recruited at this very school. Skipping class, hitting up internet cafes and street brawling, that was their daily grind. Disrupting class and talking back to teachers was practically their religion. The 6-foot school walls were basically just hurdles for these guys climbing over. Terrible, just absolutely terrible, seeing him stay silent, one of the kids. A blonde-haired punk pointed at his body, right at the red welts left by his dad's leather belt, saying, "Whoa, Boss Luke, those wolf tattoos on you look so badass. Where'd you get 'em? Hook us up." The others immediately chimed in. "For real, that is peak aesthetic. Yeah, the wolf heads are tattooed a bit messy, but they just radiate pure killing intent. Boss Luke's taste is just built different." Mad respect. Hearing their praise, Luke just smiled. "My dad gave them to me with his belt. You want some? I can tattoo your whole body." Some other day, the second he said that, the crew froze. The mood instantly dropped below freezing point. Looking at the smile on his face, every single one of them felt a genuine chill run down their spine. "Boss Luke, sorry, your brothers just misspoke, okay? Don't take it seriously, please." "Damn it, who said those wolf tattoos looked cool. I'll knock his teeth out. Does it still hurt, boss? We can go buy you some ointment." Looking at their terrified faces, he decided not to push it. He just waved his hand and said, "Dismissed. It's almost time for class. What are you all gathered here for? Unless you want matching wolf tattoos, then get your butts back to class." Hearing this, the delinquents were visibly stunned. What the heck? Since they enrolled, the number of times they'd actually been to class was way less than their trips to the net cafe, and he was always the one leading them to skip. Did he take the wrong meds today? But his underlings didn't dare say a word. None of them even risked a look back. As they just frantically sprinted toward the classrooms, arriving at his desk, he pulled all the books from the drawer for a look, and wow, just wow. The semester was more than halfway over, and his textbooks were in mint condition. Anyone would think he'd just transferred in today, not a single page creased. Looking at the books, his eyes practically sparkled. Every single one was precious. Artifacts to extend his life, and that meant he had to study, just as he opened the math textbook. Ready to dive into a sea of equations, a girl suddenly appeared by the window. Her presence immediately caught the eye of every single boy in the class. Whoa, who is that girl? So pretty, and what an aura. Are you kidding me? You don't know Bianca White, the eldest daughter of the White family. But isn't it usually Luke chasing after her? Why are things switched around today? Hearing the gossip, Luke finally looked up toward the window. That's when he saw Bianca White glaring daggers straight at him. Her beautiful face twisted with a cold, piercing glare. Luke, what is the meaning of this? Bianca asked, her tone anything but friendly. He was confused. What kind of opening line was that? He hadn't said a word, yet she was demanding answers. He was the one who should be asking what she wanted. Can I help you? He asked casually. This time it was Bianca's turn to be floored. Just yesterday, she had sent him a storm of texts. When he didn't reply, she assumed he'd never wake up. See, she only studied at school 13 because her family forced her to stay and build a connection with him. With him supposedly dead. She thought she could finally escape this prison and transfer to a good school for her college entrance exams. But just as Bianca went to file her transfer papers today, her family unexpectedly called, telling her he had woken up, and just like that, her plans went up in smoke. Thinking about how this man she hated was the very reason she couldn't have a proper study environment. Bianca's heart filled with bitter resentment. You woke up, so why didn't you answer my messages? Do you know what it feels like to give someone hope, only to rip it all away? Do you have any idea how badly I want to escape this school? Why did you have to wake up? Since you clearly understand how I feel, I'll stop pretending. Luke, you are just a hopeless, useless playboy. Someone like you will never amount to anything. And I, Bianca White, will absolutely never marry a loser like you. Luke, are you even listening to me? Bianca fired off a machine gun rant, only to realize Luke had his head down. Reading his book, acting as if she wasn't even there. Bianca frowned, certain he was putting on an act. Him reading a book, yeah, when pigs fly. After she finished, he paused, closed the book, and said with an annoyed tone, "Move out of my light. You're interrupting my studies." The second he said it, her eyes went wide. Her gorgeous face was a mask of pure disbelief. Good, very good, Luke. You're quite something, playing this game with me. Bianca's face flushed bright red with anger. Luke, I hope you keep this act up forever. Don't you ever show up in my world again. Goodbye, no, wait, let's just never meet again. Bianca spun on her heel and stormed away in a rage. Luke just watched her leave and shook his head slightly. How ridiculous. So what if she's the precious daughter of the White family? Is she more valuable than the knowledge in his books? Does she have formulas written on her face? Why should he care? Women only slowed down the speed at which he could turn pages. The boys in class saw it all and started whispering. See, I told you Boss Luke was just toying with Bianca. He's the sole heir of the Sterling family. Why would he ever stoop so low, exactly? If Boss Luke actually wanted to date, it's not like he's short on options. Still, Boss Luke's with the way he's flipping that book. He almost looks like a serious student. But it's all an act. Boss Luke's performance is Oscar-worthy. Just then, a female teacher with a math book walks in. Hello, everyone. I am Valerie Vance, your new homeroom teacher. There are 3 months left until the college entrance exams. For this remaining time, I will be walking alongside you all. Even though our time together won't be long, I feel a good connection with you. I hope everyone cooperates well. The moment the students saw Ms. Vance, all the guys in the class went absolutely nuts. Comments like, "Teacher, you're so beautiful." "Teacher, I love you. I only want to be with you in this life," echoed through the room. But despite the chaos, Valerie didn't even flinch. Her gaze locked right onto him. the only one in the class who was actually reading a book. Her eyes held a spark of sheer determination. But don't get it twisted, she wasn't charmed by his studious act. She came with a sacred and very serious mission. Her name, Valerie Vance, a PhD researcher at Dragon Kingdom University. After graduating, she joined the Capital Intelligence Bureau. Her very first assignment was to take down the century-old Sterling family syndicate. But the Sterling family's roots ran deep, their power shadowing everything. They were the undisputed kings of the underworld. Yet they had whitewashed their public image to be squeaky clean. The organization investigated them for an entire year, only to find the Sterling family were supposedly philanthropists, peace lovers, and held countless honorary titles. With no other choice, the organization found a new angle. They decided to target the Sterling Empire's future heir, and that's him. Rumors said this young Master Sterling committed every evil deed imaginable at school, and was arrogant with a terrible attitude, a textbook villainous rich kid. So Valerie applied to become his homeroom teacher. Her plan was to use him to pry open the lock and dismantle the Sterling family piece by piece. But seeing him so attentively reading, Valerie couldn't help but feel a little suspicious. She had been standing on the podium this whole time, yet he hadn't even spared her a glance. His face was practically glued to the pages, this intense focus. How did this resemble a useless, chaotic demon king? Did the organization get its intel wrong? But at that exact moment, Luke, who was so focused, suddenly swung his arm wildly. He slammed the math textbook on the floor, stomped on it, and cursed it out loud. Damn it, crap, bullcrap. He was beyond frustrated. He had been reading all day, but hadn't received a single reward. After checking in his head, he found out the system required him to shout a specific phrase internally. Genshin launch to unlock the reward system. God damn it, why wasn't that important detail mentioned sooner? He barely has any days left to live. This was just wasting his precious time. And what the heck is a Genshin launch anyway? He spat. Total trash system. After this little outburst of his, the other students all got that. I knew it look. He was just pretending look. On the podium, Valerie felt a weight lift. She breathed a sigh of relief. As expected, a useless, arrogant playboy. Looks like the organization's decision wasn't wrong. Finding a breakthrough through Luke Sterling is definitely the right move. With that, Valerie cleared her throat. All right, look at this. Her face goes stone cold, staring them down. She booms like absolute thunder. Everyone quiet down right now. Stop. Stop the noise. I have been here for a full minute already. Not a single second of silence. Are you children, elementary schoolers? Do I need to babysit you? Listen up. I'm a very direct person. So here is your reality check. As your teacher, I want us to get along, but do not push your luck. Push my buttons, then do not blame me when I show no mercy. Those words hit like a truck. The class froze. The rowdy room suddenly went silent enough to hear a pin drop. They watched Valerie, 1 second gentle, the next a total beast. They were just stunned. Pure shock, Valerie saw their jaws hit the floor and felt pretty smug inside. But seconds later, that quiet room just exploded back into chaos. Wow, teacher has got a spicy temper. That is a major plus. We love you, teacher, biology class. I want to study human anatomy with you. I usually zone out. How can I possibly stay focused on you? Miss Vance, are you aggressive everywhere? Ha ha, these students were not scared at all. Totally hyped, firing off a barrage of borderline inappropriate questions. These kids were wild. Valerie, who was feeling smug, she froze solid. Seriously, are these even normal students? Absolutely wild. Who says this stuff? Normally, she would have delivered a flying elbow right to the face to teach them some manners. But right now, she was a teacher, a role model with the weight of the crushing the Sterling family on her shoulders. Thinking about this, she took a deep breath. Steady now, losing your cool over small matters ruins the plan. But then, the next comments broke her. Teacher has an amazing body, I wonder if it is all natural development. Why ask? That is clearly the result of her boyfriend. Ha ha, hearing that, Valerie finally snapped. Snapped next second, she raised her palm and slammed it down hard onto the wood. With a massive crack, the desk split clean into two halves. That display of power shut everyone up again. Total silence. Every student stared at Valerie in absolute horror. They were terrified. Seeing the fear she wanted, Valerie felt satisfied. She rubbed her sore hand and gave them a cold smile. I said be quiet. If anyone else asks a disrespectful question, do not blame me for what happens next. At that moment, a student stood up trembling. Teacher, Valerie gave a kind smile. Yes, what is it? The kid looked scared at first, but then he started talking fast. Teacher, breaking school property is illegal. The principal will have to spank you with a ruler for this. Ha ha, that was it. The whole class exploded into laughter again. The boys teased her, clearly imagining the scene of her being punished. It was a total circus. Valerie, looking at this mess, panic hits the crowd. What's wrong with these students? In her 20-some years of living, Valerie had never encountered a situation like this before. Completely outrageous, she's desperate. Class, please stop laughing right now. Valerie looks flustered, but her weak plea doesn't actually stop them at all. Instead, they're emboldened. Suddenly, the mocking laughter in the classroom grows even louder. At this point, Valerie feels completely and utterly helpless. Sent here by the organization, yet she can't even handle these kids. How can she complete the mission like this? It's just too hard. Just as she reaches her wit's end, a sharp, commanding voice rings. All of you shut your mouths. When that voice echoes, the room instantly goes dead silent. The classmates who were just laughing now stop. They lower their heads like obedient sheep. Valerie is completely startled. She quickly looks toward the source. She sees Luke slowly standing up. His entire body radiates a terrifying aura. Why wouldn't he be angry? He wasted so much time just trying to activate his new system. He was trying to read to stack up some more lifespan points. But these guys kept making a racket. Half the day is wasted. At home, his parents won't let him read. Now, school is ruined. These people are pushing him too far. If they won't let him live, then fine. He speaks with a thunderous, heart-stopping volume. What do you all want? Do you want to flip the sky? Schools are built for studying, not for you to come and joke around. The state spends massive amounts of money every year for your education. You get free schooling and a good environment, and what do? You slack off all day, wasting the nation's precious resources. So many kids in rural areas dream of this chance, but cannot. If you don't want to study, get out, leave the spot for others. Do any of you deserve this? Do you even deserve your own parents? As the youth, we should study hard and contribute to our nation. We shouldn't be the maggots ruining the pot, let him be clear. Whoever dares to make noise or interrupt others, expect no mercy. Luke finishes his speech and sits back down, immersing himself in books. He's back in his world of knowledge. The nearby kids are suffocated. That immense aura is crushing them. Did Boss Luke take wrong meds? Normally, he's the one leading the riots. What's wrong with him today? Just shut up. If Boss Luke hears us, we're all dead meat. The boys whisper to each other. Meanwhile, Valerie stands frozen in place. She recalls his words. That was actually beautifully said. What kind of ideology is this? Such a profound level of enlightenment. That kind of ambition, prioritizing the nation. He's a model youth. But wait, isn't he the sole heir of the famous Sterling family? The future successor to the Sterling Empire. That's not a humble background. Why would a rich kid say these things? Valerie starts to frown. Has her mission been exposed? Is he just putting on an act? It looks like she'll need to watch him much more closely from now. A chance to report this. She turned to him, saying, "Student, your speech was excellent. I hope the entire class learns from your example. And my attitude earlier was not great. I hope you all can forgive me. Okay, let's begin the lesson. Just then, a system notification chimed inside his head. You have successfully spread positive energy. Your actions have influenced a total of 50 people. Reward, lifespan plus 5 hours and 1 mystery gift box. He paused his reading. Holy cow. Spreading positive energy could actually increase his lifespan, and it even came with a mystery gift. It looked like he needed to start helping old ladies cross the street from now on. He had to become a youth overflowing with positive energy. Open the mystery gift box, he commanded internally. It opened, revealing a mystery reward, the elixir of perfection. Seeing the bottle of water, he immediately clicked use. The very next second, a warm current flooded his entire body. Instantly, he felt his lungs clear and his kidneys recharge. His already handsome face became even more perfectly sculpted. The body's previous owner smoked and drank constantly, leaving it riddled with minor issues. But now, not only was he completely cured, but his entire aura had been significantly upgraded. Good stuff, he praised internally, before continuing to flip through the 10th grade math textbook. The teacher taught her lesson. He read his book. They didn't interfere with one another, detected that the host is reading 10th grade math. Lifespan plus 1 minute and another minute. Mathematical knowledge proficiency plus 1 and another 1. For the rest of the day, no matter the subject, he only focused on math. The teachers all saw this, but none bothered to discipline him. To them, as long as he wasn't starting a riot. They were already thanking their lucky stars. In fact, seeing him actually reading a book made their eyes pop, had the sun risen from the west. This kid barely showed up to class, and now he was studying. After school, the teachers gossiped, wondering if his brain had short-circuited. As for our guy, he'd had a pretty successful day. He finished all the math textbooks from 10th to 12th grade, adding a dozen more days to his lifespan. His math knowledge was now completely maxed out. Looking at his remaining lifespan of almost 30 days, he whistled a tune and strolled towards the school gate. Awesome, he'd earned a few more days to live. But just as he reached the gate, he noticed a female student not far away, clutching her backpack. Standing there trembling, she was surrounded by several punks with brightly dyed rainbow hair. The group was staring at the girl with disgusting, sleazy expressions, occasionally whistling and catcalling her. It was a complete eyesore. Hey little sis, just say yes, come watch a movie with me. I heard there's a new action movie, super intense, clothes flying everywhere. And as long as you agree, I guarantee no one in this school will ever dare to bully you. A green-haired punk said with confidence as 2 lackeys hyped him up. For real, don't underestimate our boss just because he's a freshman. He has several senior bosses backing him up. One of them is even a blood brother to the Sterling family's young master. What are you waiting for? If that were me, I'd have put on some black stockings and gone with him to the movies by now. White stockings are the best, no black stockings. Or maybe nothing at all. The thugs cackled, their comments getting viler. The girl's face burned crimson as she clutched her backpack straps. She nervously stammered, I'm sorry, I can't, I'm not free. Please just leave me alone. Hearing that, the smiles on their faces vanished. Instantly, one of them raised a hand, ready to slap her right across the face. I was being nice, and this is how you repay me, the girl stumbled back. Pure terror in her eyes, tears were already streaming down her delicate cheeks. Crying, she just kept bowing her head, begging them, I'm so sorry. My mom's in the hospital. I have a part-time job to get to, please. She had stayed late to study, leaving just as the school grounds were emptying out. With almost no one around, the thugs only got bolder. Her desperate pleas meant absolutely nothing. They just smiled wickedly. Slowly, they started closing in on her again, but nearby, at the school gates. A woman named Valerie Vance was in her Volvo, about to head home from work. That's when she saw the whole thing unfolding in her rearview mirror. She was close. Close enough to hear every single word. Disgusting little scumbags. Today, you're all going to learn a lesson. These thugs reminded her of some students. the troublemakers from her own class, and Valerie's notorious temper finally flared. She quickly swapped her heels for flats and threw open the car door, ready for a fight. But just as she was about to step out, a new voice cut in. "What's going on here? Mind if I join the party?" Hearing this, Valerie looked toward the sound source. And there he was, Luke Sterling, backpack on, smirking behind the group of punks. A little smile crept onto Valerie's face, Luke Sterling finally showing his true colors. All that talk about being righteous during the day, what a joke. School's out and the hero mask comes right off. He actually wants to join them. Thinking this, Valerie quickly opened up her phone's camera app. She hit record, planning to catch everything and send it straight to the organization. Meanwhile, the punks turned to face Luke, their eyes dripping with pure disdain. Now, if they were upperclassmen, they'd already be bowing to him respectfully. Maybe even offering him a cigarette, but these guys were just newbies. Freshmen newly enrolled at School 13, they'd heard Luke's name, but never seen his face. The green-haired thug spat on the ground. "And who the hell are you supposed to be? Get lost before you ruin the fun." The girl's eyes suddenly lit up. She saw a savior for a split second, but then her hope died. She couldn't let him get dragged into this mess because of her. "Classmate, please just go." "This has nothing to do with you," she pleaded, her eyes red. "You hear that?" The green-haired punk sneered. "My girlfriend told you to beat it." With that, the thugs turned back around, grinning as they approached the girl again. But then whack, an empty soda can came flying right at the punk's head. It arced through the air perfectly, smashing right into the green-haired thug's skull. The thug clutched his head, screaming in pain. He turned and saw Luke, who was casually dusting off his hands with a smug look. "Oops, it slipped." "That did it," the thugs snapped. "You wanna die?" Like wild dogs, the three of them charged straight for Luke. Valerie, meanwhile. Valerie, filming from her car, was stunned. Wait, that's not right. Wasn't Luke trying to join them? It looked like he was actually fighting them. Her student was getting ganged up on. As his teacher, should she step in, while Valerie was hesitating? She was shocked to see the three punks had already been completely dismantled by Luke. Now they were all rolling on the ground, clutching their bodies and squealing like pigs. "My stomach, it hurts." "Damn it, you dare hit me. Do you know who my boss is? Call Boss Bruno." "Get our guys over here." Valerie was speechless. Beaten 3-on-1 and still wanting to call for backup, some gangsters. But this Luke Sterling actually had some pretty impressive combat skills. He looked so thin and frail, yet he took them all down in the blink of an eye. Luke walked up to the girl and said calmly, "Classmate, let me get you out of here." The girl looked at his face and was momentarily stunned. "Thank you," she stammered, her voice soft and gentle. "Don't mention it." After that, he and the girl turned to leave. But right at that moment, the three punks on the ground struggled to get up. "You bastards, stay right there. Think you can just hit us and run? Stop." Seeing Luke ignore him, the blonde-haired punk immediately spouted a vicious threat. "If you dare to leave today, I'll throw that girl's crippled mother down a well." Hearing that, Luke froze. He turned his head, looking at the thugs with absolute contempt. "Call your guys," he uttered coldly. He stood rooted to the spot, not moving an inch. Valerie, sitting in the car, found this highly intriguing. This future heir of the Sterling family was quite something else. He beats people up and doesn't run, even waits for them to call backup. "All right then," muttering to herself, Valerie pulled out her phone to call the police. This was insane. What if the other side called over a dozen more guys? Luke would surely be beaten to a pulp. Even if she went to help, two fists can't fight off dozens. Calling the police was the smartest choice right now. The girl saw Luke stop and looked a bit panicked. But soon after, as if making up her mind, she stood right beside him, her eyes growing determined. "Oh, acting tough now. Just you wait, I'll show you two what's what." The green-haired punk felt completely disgusted. The girl he targeted wasn't just rescued in some classic hero saves the damsel trope, but they were now acting out a we die together romance drama right in front of him. thinking he'd become a mere extra in their little story. The green-haired punk was about to explode with rage. Soon enough, the clear sky began to be covered by dark clouds, bringing an oppressive, gloomy atmosphere. Right after, a massive crowd of people marched aggressively from the west side of the school. At a glance, it was a dense, swarming mob. Valerie, estimating from her car, guessed there were no less than 100 people. She was utterly shocked. What in the world? Was this still her country? Had School 13 just not been liberated yet? It's the 21st century. Why were there still relics from a past era? Are they filming a Mafia movie? She felt incredibly lucky that she had called the police. Otherwise, Luke would definitely be mashed into meat paste. Haha, my boss is here. You're dead meat, the green-haired punk threatened, then happily ran to them. Boss Bruno finally arrives with his 2 lackeys to welcome the reinforcements. That is the brat who hit me, the punk points right at Luke. Bruno looks at the silhouette. It feels familiar, but he says nothing. Instead, slap, 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 he gives each of them a heavy backhand. Their faces swell up instantly from the force of those powerful hits. The green-haired punk clutches his face, asking why his boss hit him. Bruno is furious. How could his men be beaten by just one guy? He calls them pathetic and asks how they can call themselves his men. Waving his hand with bravado, he demands to see the blind fool. He wants to know who dared to touch his people at school. 100 people swarm the gates, surrounding Luke in a tight human circle. Kid, you have got nerve. Which boss do you even run with? Bruno lights a cigarette, staring at Luke's back as he waits for answers. But get this, the longer he looks, the more his gut sinks. Those clothes, that silhouette, why does he look so much like that guy? Luke remains motionless. The punk curses, asking if the kid has gone deaf. Luke slowly turns around. The moment Bruno sees his face, he freezes. His heart clenches, his jaw drops so hard it nearly hits the pavement. A few seconds later, Bruno stammers out a name, Boss Luke. Looking at Luke's cold, expressionless face, Bruno's eyes roll back in fear. His legs tremble violently as cold sweat drenches his entire back. He wants to kill that green-haired punk for causing this total nightmare. Of everyone in school, they just had to provoke the most terrifying person. Is this not just digging a grave for everyone? Boss Luke, why you? This is a misunderstanding. It is truly just a huge mistake, he cries. Bruno shakily offers a cigarette, watching Luke's expression with pure terror. The crowd of seniors recognizes Luke too. The entire atmosphere shifts instantly. And then, you won't believe it, they all shout in perfect unison. Boss Luke, the roar of 100 voices, echoes through the gate. The 3 punks are dumbfounded. They finally realize who they just provoked. Luke, the green-haired punk, is sweating buckets, unable to even speak. Bruno delivers another slap. Are you blind? Have you lost your mind? Do you just provoke anyone? If you want to die, do it alone. The 3 punks throw themselves down, bowing their heads in deep apology. Boss Luke, we were blind. We failed to recognize a true titan. Please be merciful and do not hold this against us, they beg. We are so sorry. We didn't know it was actually you. If we knew, we would never have dared to offend you, boss. Please forgive us. Their previous arrogance has completely vanished into thin air. They are replaced by a sincere, pathetic attitude as they beg for mercy. Bruno and the crowd of seniors stand silently, too scared to speak. No one dares to plead for the punks. The girl stands there shocked. Is he really the legendary young Master Sterling? He doesn't look evil. Luke speaks coldly, bullying a female classmate in broad daylight like this. Even threatening her disabled family, Luke's eyes are filled with pure ice. Did your parents really give birth to you just so you could do things like this? From now on, I don't want to see you 3 anywhere in Cloudy City ever again. Transfer schools, leave this city. Hearing Luke's final sentence, Bruno secretly let out a sigh of relief. Then he yelled, Boss Luke told you to. Get lost, didn't you hear him? Why are you still standing there? The green-haired punk nodded frantically. Yes, 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 thank you, Boss Luke. We'll process our transfer papers first thing tomorrow. After they spoke, the three of them didn't dare look back, just scampering away in disgrace. The moment they vanished, a system notification chimed inside Luke's head. You have successfully promoted positive energy. Your actions have influenced a total of 108 people. Reward, lifespan plus 10 hours. Hearing this, Luke secretly rejoiced. Promoting positivity in society, their generation could not decline this duty. Seeing that Luke wasn't going to make things difficult, Bruno was just about to step forward and apologize properly, but at that exact moment, a familiar female voice called out. Luke, are you bullying people again? As the words were spoken, everyone looked toward the source of the sound, and there she was. Bianca White, wearing her backpack, was walking right out of the school. She marched straight up to him and said coldly, "What's wrong? Can't keep up the act. Weren't you trying to be a model student just this morning?" The incident in the morning had left Bianca furious. Now she'd caught him bullying someone. She naturally wasn't passing up the chance to lecture him. Luke, do you only know how to bully the weak and act this arrogant, don't you find yourself pathetic? Someone like you actually wants to be my boyfriend. Let me tell you, there will never be a possibility between us, Bianca said, her teeth gritted. Getting that off her chest made her feel so much better. Seeing this, Bruno rushed forward to explain. Sister-in-law, please. Don't misunderstand. Boss Luke wasn't bullying anyone. Before he could finish, Luke cut him off instantly. Shut up. From now on, no one is allowed to call her sister-in-law. Did everyone hear me? The moment Luke spoke, everyone was totally dumbfounded. What was happening here? Could it be? Everyone turned their gaze to the girl standing right next to him. Feeling hundreds of eyes fixed on her, the girl's face instantly flushed bright red. And Bianca noticed this girl too. She saw that her beauty, figure, and overall aura were not inferior to her own in the slightest. And an indescribable sense of loss suddenly surged inside her heart. If this was true, then her words, weren't they just a narcissistic clown show? The thought of losing face in front of so many people made Bianca blush too. But then she realized something was off. He was just deliberately creating an encounter with another girl to make her jealous. He's totally playing hard to get. Thinking this, Bianca smiled faintly. Luke, don't think that what you're doing will have any effect on me. This just makes you look ridiculous and childish. Please don't bother me again. Goodbye. And with that, Bianca walked away without a single look back. Everyone fell into a heavy silence. Such absolute and ruthless words. Though Bianca had rejected Luke countless times, she had never before shown such a resolute attitude. Boss Luke, Bruno began. Imagine stepping up to help, only to find Luke wearing an expression of total indifference. Luke just shook his head, muttering curses toward the direction Bianca had just left. Psycho. With Bianca finally gone, the girl beside him spoke up, her voice trembling with nerves. She thanked her classmate for saving her, introducing herself as Lily Jones. She promised to repay him later, but Luke just waved his hand dismissively. He claimed he did good deeds without ever needing to leave a name. The crowd went silent. Leave a name? Was he even being serious right now? 100 guys had just roared Boss Luke in perfect unison moments ago. Everyone knew he was Luke Sterling. Bruno lined in close, looking totally miserable. He begged for forgiveness, blaming himself for recruiting such useless and blind underlings. Bruno asked to be punished, swearing he would not complain about a single thing. Luke looked at Bruno and the massive crowd of delinquents waiting behind him. He cleared his throat, calling them dignified men and the pillars of their families. He told them he had only one simple demand for everyone standing there. Luke hoped they would stop bullying the weak and start acting with real honor. He told them to be people of justice. Stick with me. The crowd was stunned. They wondered if Boss Luke had accidentally taken the wrong medication today. This guy was usually the king of trouble. Now he is preaching about righteousness. especially since his own father was the biggest mob boss in the country. Of course, they only dared to think that. Nobody would say it aloud. Suddenly, Bruno turned and yelled at the top of his lungs to the crowd. He ordered them to listen to Boss Luke and become true men of justice. Hundreds of hands shot into the air the moment those words were spoken. Booming chants began to echo loudly across the entire school entrance. Justice, justice, justice. After a while, the chant started sounding a bit strange. An 80-year-old lady happened to walk by, leaning heavily on her cane. She watched the energetic youths and simply shook her head in pure confusion. She thought they wanted just ice, suggesting hot tea was better for their health. Silence fell over the crowd. Then, the distinct sound of police sirens echoed nearby. The delinquents did not flinch. They weren't scared like people in the movies. With Luke backing them up, they had absolutely nothing to fear. Still, to protect his public image, Luke waved them off and told them to disperse. Seconds later, only Luke and Lily remained as two police cars pulled up. Several officers in uniform stepped out and looked around at the empty scene. When they recognized Luke, they actually smiled and walked over to him. They jokingly asked if little Luke was causing trouble again, but he denied it. Luke was genuinely confused about who had actually called the cops on them. That's when Valerie stepped out of the police car, clicking her high heels. She smiled at everyone as she walked toward them with total confidence. She introduced herself as Luke's teacher, claiming she saw him being bullied earlier. Officer Ford and the other cops immediately burst into fits of laughter. The idea of Luke Sterling being bullied was the funniest thing they had heard. At this 13th high school, everyone knew he was the one doing the bullying. Nobody believed her story for a second. It was just too ridiculous to be true. Since no real incident had occurred, Officer Ford just gave a simple nod. Otherwise, they'd be heading back. Before leaving, the cop made sure to remind him. "Little Luke, go home early. Don't make your parents worry." Once the cops had left, only he, Valerie, and Lily were left behind. "Let's go," she offered. "I'll give you two a ride home." Valerie jingled her car keys with a smile, looking at her homeroom teacher, then back at Luke. Luke didn't think there was anything strange about this, because the original owner of this body hung out with a bad crowd every single day after school, only stumbling home around midnight. His family driver always dropped him off, but was never there to pick him up. During the car ride, he learned all about Lily's family situation. To put it in one word, tragic. A father addicted to gambling, a paralyzed mother. A shattered family, but a girl who was tough and unbelievably strong. Her father went bankrupt, drowned in debt, and eventually just couldn't take the pressure. He committed suicide by jumping off a building. Her mother was paralyzed and lost the ability to work, so every last cent of the debt fell onto Lily's shoulders. Not only did Lily have to work part-time jobs daily just to pay it all back, she also had to take care of her paralyzed mother, and yet, despite all that, Lily's grades at school were incredible. She consistently ranked in the top 10. She kept it up through her entire freshman year. Hearing this, Valerie couldn't help but be moved. "Lily, tomorrow's Saturday, and the city is hosting a math competition. First prize is a $200,000 reward. I'm one of the judges, and I happen to have a few application forms. Do you want to try?" The moment money was mentioned, Lily's eyes immediately lit up. "Really, Miss Vance, I want to participate," the second she finished. Luke also shot his hand up, saying, "Miss Vance, I want to participate too." Valerie was a little stunned. Lily had excellent grades and was known for her outstanding math skills. If she participated, she could actually win the award. But Luke, a total playboy whose books probably hadn't been opened more than a few times, what was he doing trying to join in on the fun? Luke knew Valerie looked down on him. But his math knowledge level, already maxed out, participating in a math competition wouldn't just grant him a huge amount of lifespan, it would also give him a mystery reward. With a massive opportunity like this right in front of him, how could he possibly miss out? "You don't understand, Miss Vance," He said, I have a severe imbalance in my subjects. Every time he takes an exam, even though his other subjects are pure garbage, his math score is always freakishly high. Valerie couldn't help her curiosity, just how high. He pointed to last month's exam: literature 24, English 13, physics, chemistry bio 29, but his math score, a solid 30 points. This is a severe imbalance. Lily just couldn't hold back and burst into laughter. Valerie was even more speechless. The math test is out of 150 points. Multiple choice alone takes up half the score. He got 30 points and calls that an imbalance. If she threw a handful of rice on the answer sheet and let a chicken peck at it, it would probably score higher. But then she reconsidered. If she wanted to find a way into the Sterling Empire, through him, having more contact with the boy would definitely help her mission. All right then, you two fill out these forms. By the time he got home, it was already 9 p.m. As soon as he walked through the door, he saw his father. He was sitting in the living room with the gloomiest expression on his face. Dozens of servants stood on both sides in total silence. The atmosphere in the entire house was just incredibly eerie. Luke's heart tightened. A very bad feeling slowly began to rise inside him. Just as expected, Richard Sterling's voice cut through the air with icy coldness. He heard Bianca White went looking for Luke today, but Luke just used studying as an excuse. Luke acted cold toward her and even hung out with another girl right in front of her. After saying that, Richard waved his hand, calling a servant over to him immediately. Bring me Luke's backpack. The servant handed it over with terrified respect. In one motion, Richard unzipped the bag and dumped everything onto the cold floor. Besides a few books hitting the ground, there was also an application for a math competition. Seeing the scene, Luke's heart sank into his stomach. He was done for. Time for another serving of the leather belt special. Richard's face darkened instantly. Looking at that math form on the floor, the man's expression turned murderous. The servants didn't dare breathe, terrified of the massive storm about to break. They secretly sighed in their hearts. Their young master really knew how to cause trouble. Richard explicitly told him not to study or strive for excellence at school. His mission was simple: date the White family's daughter and secure their alliance. Instead, the young master used studying to ghost Bianca, breaking every taboo at once. Luke was already mentally prepared for a beating. The situation looked hopeless. He dropped to his knees. I was wrong. Go ahead and hit me, Dad. But here is where you and I witness something completely unexpected. Inside the Sterling mansion, Richard's gloomy face suddenly turned bright. He laughed out loud while helping his son back up. Ha, truly my son. Luke stood up in total confusion. He had no idea what was actually going on. Richard leisurely lit a cigar, beaming with pride. This playing hard to get tactic, brilliant. Back in the day, Luke's dad used the exact same trick to woo his mother. He had chased her miserably for 3 long years without making any progress at all. She had feelings, but she just wouldn't cross the final line. Richard was desperate. Left with no choice, he found another woman to put on an act for her. When his future wife found out, she flew into a legendary, street-shaking rage. She led hundreds of her brothers and chased Richard through the city streets. She hacked him up so badly, he stayed in the hospital for months recovering. He still has scars all over, but those cuts were absolutely worth the price. When she saw him in the hospital and started crying, they finally became a couple. They fell in love, got married, and finally brought Luke into the world. You rascal. Hearing this story, Luke had to struggle just to hold back his own laughter. The old man actually thought Luke was using a high-level romance strategy on Bianca. He really didn't mean for it to look that way, but he couldn't correct him. It wasn't that he disliked Bianca, who wouldn't want a rich and beautiful girl. It's just that right now, stacking up lifespan is his one true love. He doesn't have the mental capacity for chasing girls. Survival is the priority. Plus, his mom was apparently a total boss who led hundreds into street battles. Just thinking about that violent scene was terrifying. Richard suddenly picked up the form. Taking a deep drag of his cigar, the man looked incredibly satisfied with the plan. He heard from the White family that Bianca is entering this competition tomorrow. That is the spirit. Chasing women requires using your brain and planning ahead. You cannot just follow them at school, you must move the hunt slowly. You have to move the battlefield to a place where you can truly win. Outside of school, that way they could deepen their feelings. With a nod, Richard tells him to go shower. And to remember to dress handsomely tomorrow to put on a good show. After saying this, Richard puts out his cigar and slowly leaves the living room. Luke could only scratch his head helplessly. No wonder his dad wasn't angry when he saw the form. It turns out Bianca is also participating tomorrow. Talk about fate. But then again, it was a good thing she signed up too. Otherwise, he definitely wouldn't have escaped a beating today. If his old man knew he was actually studying hard to improve himself, it would spark another huge storm. Returning to his bedroom, he shouted, "Genshin, launch." In his mind, then picked up martial arts of the Dragon Kingdom and continued his grind. The incident at the school gates this evening made him realize the importance of raw power. If he hadn't stayed up all night grinding his martial arts to level 4, he might not have beaten those punks earlier today. A notification rings out. The host is reading Martial Arts of the Dragon Kingdom, Martial Arts Proficiency +1. Listening to the system notifications, he gradually sank into the ocean of knowledge until 11:56 p.m. By now, he'd read the book dozens of times. Martial Arts Proficiency Level 10, maxed out. System notification, Martial Arts Proficiency has reached its maximum level. You can get massive lifespan and mystery rewards by joining martial arts tournaments or professional exams. Hearing this sound, Luke stretched his body. Phew, finally maxed out. Having world-class martial arts means his personal safety is now significantly enhanced. Early the next morning, before the alarm even rang, he was woken up by his dad's not-so-gentle calling. "You little brat, what time is it and you're still not up? Can you put some heart into this? With this attitude, how will you complete the mission I gave you? You still want to woo Bianca White. Even if you were a random country bumpkin, you wouldn't be worthy of her." Luke rubbed his sleepy eyes, secretly amazed. He didn't expect Richard, a middle-aged man, to be so disciplined. Up before 7 a.m. seems his fake dad has some qualities worth learning from. But then Richard muttered and cursed, singing karaoke all night long. "Haven't slept a wink, I'm exhausted, I'm going to bed," and just like that, what an unconventional character. Richard's great image in his heart lasted only a few seconds before completely collapsing. Half an hour later, he walked out of the Sterling Mansion gates. The moment he sat in the Rolls-Royce, dozens of servants stood in 2 rows, shouting in perfect unison, wishing young Master Luke a victorious campaign to bring the miss home successfully and birth a whole flock of grandchildren. Oh my God! Witnessing his newly rebuilt worldview about to collapse again, he hurriedly urged, "Quick, driver, let's go." "Yes, young master." "Hold on tight." With that, the car's engine roared like a wild beast. Accompanied by a cloud of smoke, the car shot forward like a bullet. A journey that normally takes an hour was done in just half that time. By then, the competition venue was already packed with people. As soon as he stepped out of the car, a gentle female voice sounded right beside him. "Luke." Turning around, he saw Lily Jones looking at him, her face blushing slightly. "What a coincidence," he smiled. Lily nodded, looking a bit nervous. "Yeah, quite a coincidence. Let me take you to The exam hall was ahead. Since Luke worked here before, he knew a back door they could use. Looking at the entrance, the main doors were totally blocked by a massive, packed crowd. So he nodded and started walking toward the back door with Lily by his side. But talk about bad luck, enemies always meet on narrow roads. They immediately spotted Bianca White. She wasn't alone. 5 guys in glasses were trailing her, carrying stacks of heavy books. They looked exactly like academics, pure scholarly vibes right here. Bianca spotted them. She frowned, her opening words already smelling like a war zone. Luke, aren't you taking this act too far, pretending to be a genius here? Miss White, I'm here for the math competition, not for you, he countered. Could you stop being so narcissistic? He couldn't help but shoot that back. That set Bianca off. Luke, have some self-respect. I really don't want to expose you. With that mush inside your brain, you actually dare to compete in this event. Have you even opened a single book in your entire life? Math competitions are team-based anyway, so tell me, where is your actual team? Luke felt pure contempt. With his world-class skills, he certainly didn't need a team. Honestly, even Einstein himself would have to show him some serious and professional respect. He was feeling petty. He looked at the 5 tutors beside her and asked, "How much is she paying you? I'm willing to pay double to hire you." Bianca froze. This guy was trying to poach her team right in her face. The nerve, she couldn't believe how absolutely shameless he was being now. Fortunately, the masters just ignored him. None of them paid him any attention at all. Seeing their silence, Luke held up 5 fingers, 5 times the original price. Bianca fumed. She had already paid $500,000 to hire these 5 experts. 5 times that is $2.5 million. That was way beyond her. She hadn't even graduated yet, and her allowance was only a few thousand. That $500,000 was her entire life savings, every penny she had saved. She was planning to find a job and escape the White family after college. Under these circumstances, she absolutely would not go crawling to her family for money. If these 5 people were swayed, Bianca would have no options left. Luke knew this perfectly, which is why he offered such a massive poaching price. Suddenly, one tutor smiled coldly. "Young man, you're funny, but money isn't everything. We have devoted our entire lives to research. Money is not important. Reputation and honor are what matter most. Please, don't insult us with money anymore." "This behavior is just childish," he added. "Thank you for your time." Luke remained expressionless. He reached into his pocket and pulled out a gold card. "There is 50 million in this card," he said. "That's 10 million each if you sign. If not, then never mind." "I never force anyone," he shrugged, starting to put the card away. But then, in that exact moment, he realized the card had suddenly just vanished. He looked up. The golden dragon card was already resting in the tutor's hand. He was stunned, since when we're mathematicians, essentially high-level super thieves. Are their hands really this fast? He couldn't believe what he just saw. The 5 master tutors stared at the card, their faces suddenly beaming with joy. "We don't like money," they chirped, "but your sincerity has truly moved us. Math research desperately needs supporters like you. We are in. For someone with your keen eye, don't worry, handsome, all 5 of us are professionals. We will definitely get you first place in this math competition." Seeing this exchange, Bianca was on the verge of absolutely losing it. She was seething with rage, her face flushing beet red from pure fury. She snapped, "Luke, you are the most shameless person I have ever met. The absolute most thick-skinned bastard," but Luke just calmly replied, "I haven't teamed up. Do you believe I'm competing now?" Ah, pure satisfaction. Venting that anger felt so good. Truly amazing. Lily just watched, completely dazed. This must be the world of the rich. She works for an hour to earn a few bucks, but Luke just says 50 million and spends it instantly. She's never even burned that much offering money for her ancestors. Just as Bianca's fury was about to boil over, a helicopter suddenly roared overhead. The noise was so deafening that absolutely everyone around was forced to look up. Up in the sky, they saw a helicopter circling a few times above the shopping mall. It then made a slow descent, landing on a nearby lawn. The moment the cabin door opened, a young man with an imposing aura stepped out. "Bianca." The man yelled, sprinting directly towards her. At the sound of his voice, Bianca took a closer look, her face immediately lighting up with overwhelming joy. "Brody," the two embraced and immediately started chatting away. They were like old friends, catching up after years apart. "Brody, aren't you studying in the capital? What are you doing all the way out here?" He just laughed. Silly question. I heard you joined a math competition, so I took a helicopter and flew all night just to be here. After saying that, Brody proudly patted his chest. Don't you worry with me here. Winning first place in this kind of competition is a piece of cake. Bianca was moved. Thank you so much, Brody. I still remember from when we were kids, whenever I had a math problem that I couldn't solve, you always taught me. Brody replied smugly, of course. I always taught you, I teach you now, and I'll teach you forever. Luke just watched this guy, finding his face somewhat familiar, but for some reason he just couldn't place him. At that moment, the 5 so-called master tutors walked over to Brody. On every one of their faces was a look of pure disbelief. Aren't you the one who won first place in the Global Math Olympiad 3 years running? The math prodigy BJ, one of them asked. Asked full of excitement, Brody just smiled gently. You are not mistaken. I am BJ. The second he confirmed it, all 5 of them were absolutely floored. In total disbelief, they exclaimed, "Oh my God, as researchers, your name is absolutely legendary to us. We can't believe we're meeting the legend in person for the first time. This is just too exciting. You have to let us take a picture with you later." Brody waved his hand nonchalantly. No problem. Then the 5 master tutors all walked back over to Luke and handed him back the golden dragon card. Young man, they said, it seems we cannot help you with this math competition today. If you came here hoping to get first, we'd advise you to just give up. With him participating, victory is a foregone conclusion. We don't want to stain our professional records. Hearing this, Luke just casually took the card back from them. He was only planning to spend money to blow off some steam. Now this was perfect. He'd saved 50 million in an instant. To him, having these 5 tutors or not made absolutely no difference whatsoever. He could still easily take first place, not because he really wanted to. The championship, but Luke figured the higher his rank in this competition, the better the system rewards would be. This was a perfect chance to extend his lifespan. Who knows, he might even get a mystery prize like that perfection elixir again. Bianca, who is this? Brody pointed at Luke, his voice dripping with disdain. He had been circling in the chopper just to catch a glimpse of Bianca. But seeing her with a handsome man ignited a fire of jealousy inside him. To keep up his image for Bianca, he swallowed his anger for now. But he wouldn't let it slide. Now, the perfect opportunity had just arrived. He's irrelevant, Bianca said smugly, deliberately finding a girl to get close to Luke and even poaching the tutors he had hired with a ton of cash. In Bianca's mind, Luke's little game of playing hard to get was now completely and utterly exposed. But Brody wasn't about to let it go. "Oh, my sweet Bianca, just introduce him. I want to know everyone around you." Hearing this, Bianca reluctantly made the introduction. "This is Luke Sterling, future heir to the Sterling Empire." The moment she said it, Brody's heart sank. He sneered with pure hostility. "So, you're that useless. Incompetent playboy who's always chasing after my Bianca. Big name, high status on the outside, but inside you're just a reckless punk. You might have some money, but absolutely zero class. Don't think your cash makes you untouchable. In this world, money can't buy everything, like first place in this contest, and for another, Bianca's heart." Brody sneered, his mockery plain to see. But Luke wasn't angry at all. In fact, at that very moment, he finally remembered exactly who this Brody guy reminded him of. "You're Brody, I knows you. Your online reputation is legendary," Luke said, giving him a thumbs up. Hearing this, Brody's ego inflated instantly. "I didn't think a thug like you, who never cracks a book, would have heard of my reputation." But Luke just opened his phone and played a video, the masterpiece that made you famous nationwide. How could I possibly not know about it? Brody looked skeptical, but curiosity got the better of him, and he leaned in for a closer look. On the screen, a man who looked exactly like him, down to the third eye on his forehead, was squatting by a mud puddle that looked suspiciously foul. The next second, the man in the video yelled out, "Oily gay, let's feast, brothers." And then he plunged his hand right in, followed by the sound of someone gagging. Brody froze solid. His face went deathly pale, shifting between green and purple. His entire body was trembling with rage. Then he just exploded, spitting out a storm of curses. Brody, Bianca was in shock. Why would the gentle, refined Brody she knew suddenly spew such filth? She looked down at the phone, but after seeing the clip, Bianca covered her mouth, looking like she was about to be sick. The way she looked at Brody suddenly became complicated. Feeling that shift from Bianca, Brody choked down his rage and desperately tried to explain. Bianca, believe me, that man in the video is not me. It's just some lookalike, and yeah, of course Bianca knew that. But still, remembering the video's contents and comparing Brody's face to that other. Guys, a 99% match. Her heart couldn't help but be affected. Let's hurry to the exam hall. Just ignore this uncultured clown. Bianca tried to calm Brody down, who then pointed a finger straight at Luke. He cursed, saying he hopes Luke actually came to compete. Wait until the exam. He'll show him the real gap between them, calling him a stinking sewer rat. And an idiot. With that, he and Bianca stormed off in a huff. Luke watched them go. Seeing them scurry away like refugees, Luke couldn't help but laugh out loud. That guy was basically born to be a comedian. He turned to Lily. Let's go too. The competition is starting. Lily nodded, but her face was now a mask of anxiety. He had to ask, it looks like something is weighing on your mind. Lily didn't try to hide it, pouring out all her worries and fears. She planned to win first place for her family, but that Brody guy is incredible. Not only has he won the global math competition 3 years in a row, but his hands are tired from collecting all sorts of math awards, big and small. The most famous universities in the world are all fighting to recruit him. So she figured first place was probably impossible to get this time around. But getting second place would still be great, and it's easier than her part-time job. Lily smiled, trying to comfort herself. Luke just nodded along with her. Second place still had prize money, but it was less than half of the grand prize. Luke knew that for a strong girl like Lily, just giving her money directly would be nothing short of an insult, so he made her an offer, team up with him. He'll carry her all the way to first place. Hearing this, Lily just looked up. She blushed and admitted, Luke, I really do admire your personality. Sometimes she wishes she had even half of his completely blind confidence. And you really can't blame Lily for thinking that. After all, everyone knew Luke. The old him was a famous playboy in school who had never even glanced at a textbook. But despite all of that, Lily still agreed to team up, and here's the thing. There were only 25 minutes left before the competition started. The hall was already jam-packed with students. According to the rules, he and Lily needed to go and get their free team number tag. When they got there, they saw Valerie sitting at the registration desk with 2 male judges beside her. They were both completely mesmerized by her. Lily politely stepped forward. Mrs. Vance, we're here for our team number. Valerie glanced up from Lily to Luke. She asked in surprise, you two are teaming up? Luke simply nodded yes. Yes, Miss Vance. Valerie seemed deep in thought, then issued a warning. Luke, you know Lily's family situation. Don't you dare drag her down. He just made an okay gesture, telling her not to worry. After they finished up, Valerie handed them a seriously high-tech electronic tag. It displayed the number 91. Luke nodded, completely satisfied, a lucky number. Valerie was confused. How is 91 lucky? Lily was also completely puzzled. Aren't lucky numbers supposed to be 66 or 88? He smiled mysteriously. Haven't you heard of the great God 9.1? This number proves he's the god here. The moment the words left his mouth, the 2 male judges couldn't take it. They started shaking, trying their best to suppress their roaring laughter. Their faces were twitching harder than a rifle on full auto, and at that exact moment, Bianca and Brody walked up to the registration desk. You. Brody glared at him like a fighting rooster, eyes burning with hostility. Our hero just sneered back, his smile dripping with pure, unadulterated mockery. Brody gritted his teeth, absolutely furious. Just as he was about to completely lose it, Bianca touched his arm. "Don't pay attention to him," she urged gently. "The competition is about to start." Brody shot our hero one last sharp glare. He finally turned away, heading over to get his official competition number tag. He glanced down at the tag in his hand, number 92, then he saw his rivals, number 91. Enemies on a narrow path indeed. It seems like fate itself wants a showdown today. Brody watched our hero and Lily walk away, his voice dripping with ice. "I'll show you the true taste of despair." But then, our hero suddenly stopped and turned back. He raised his hand and cheered, "Do your best. Only gay brings you strength." Brody's face went white with rage, and the competition was just about to start. He and Lily took their number tags and found their assigned table right next to them. Of course, it was Bianca and Brody. Just then, a middle-aged man at a table in front of them pulled his jacket tight, shivering. "Is it just me?" he muttered. "Or is it getting cold in here?" Turning around, he saw exactly why. Brody from Team 92 was staring down our hero with pure, unfiltered killing intent. The man just had to comment, "It's a competition. What's with all the hate?" That comment was all it took. Brody's barely contained anger flared right back up. His face turned crimson, and then the clock struck 10 a.m. The competition was officially on. The crowd of thousands absolutely roared with excitement. At the same time, this battle was being broadcast live across the nation. Within minutes, the number of people watching online skyrocketed past 2 million viewers. Next up, the judge Valerie began announcing the rules. She held the microphone with slender hands and began. "This exam consists of 10 questions, with a total time limit of 8 hours. We'll be using a buzzer system to calculate the points. Questions will be displayed on the big screen one by one. If a team knows the answer, they need to hit that buzzer immediately. Their number tag will light up green, and 3 judges will then verify if their answer is correct. The team that answers right and fastest gets 10 points. After that, the question is closed, and the screen automatically switches to the next problem. When all 10 questions are solved, or the time expires, the team with the highest score will claim the grand prize of $200,000. And with that, it begins. After Valerie's declaration, the huge screen flashed to life. The first math question appeared. Now, according to the rules, the questions are arranged by difficulty, from easiest to the absolute hardest, so this first one should be a cakewalk, but this is a top-tier competition. Even an easy question requires some insane calculation. But the instant the question appeared, a buzzer went off. Valerie looked up, clearly surprised. She checked the system's data and announced, "The team that buzzed in is number 92. The moment she said it, every single eye in the room snapped over to table 92. There was Brody looking casually at the giant screen, almost bored. Bianca, however, looked completely stunned. "Brody," she thought, "I haven't even finished reading the question and you've solved it already." But Brody just shook his head. He announced it loudly, "I'm still calculating. It'll take the judges about 30 seconds to walk over here, and in that time, it's enough for him to solve this first question." Hearing this, all the surrounding teams were stunned. Absolutely speechless. This was flexing on a whole new level. For a normal person, 30 seconds might not even be enough to finish reading the question, but him. He not only reads it, he solves it. It was right at that moment that people around him started recognizing the genius that was Brody. "I think that's the math prodigy. It's really him. Oh my God, why is he in a low-level competition? You must have the wrong person. No way. No mistake, Bug is my idol. I would recognize him even if he turned to ash. So handsome, so talented, I love you. Oh, we are so doomed. Bug is here too. What's the point in competing? First place is already gone, but then again, it's fine. Being able to compete with Bug is enough for bragging rights for a lifetime." When everyone realized Brody's true identity, In that instant, the entire venue erupted. Contestants and the audience all went completely wild. And it wasn't just them. Back in the control room, the director stared at the young man on the screen, totally shocked. He never expected the famous Bug to appear in this competition. He immediately yelled to the staff beside him, "Hurry, get the tech department on the line now. Increase the livestream bandwidth. Wherever Bug is, that's where the traffic is." This time, they would absolutely shatter the record for concurrent online viewers for this stadium. Under the watch of millions, Valerie walked step by step toward table 92. The entire time, Brody's eyes were glued to the large screen, his brows furrowed in concentration, seeing Valerie about to reach his side. Brody let out a small sigh of relief, his facial muscles relaxing into a laid-back expression. Team 92, please provide your answer. Valerie looked at the young man with a massive smile. As a lifelong math fanatic, of course she knew who Bug was. She was a huge fan. It was just that when he came up to get his number earlier, she didn't recognize him at all. She missed her one chance for a photo. Valerie couldn't help but feel disappointed. This was all Luke's fault. His lucky number 91 nonsense completely distracted her. Brody grabbed the microphone. The answer to the first question is 13. The design here is quite exquisite. First, you use an improper integral to find the necessary parameters. Then, through Lagrange's mean value theorem, you find the limit value of the curve. Finally, a simple matrix calculation gets you the answer easily. The sheer volume of calculation in this question is enormous, but as long as you find the correct method, no matter how difficult the problem is, it becomes simple. And I want to say a few words. To the other contestants, when playing with math, your thinking must be flexible. Don't just hit a wall. When one path is blocked, you must learn to make a cognitive leap, to look at the problem from a totally different angle. He was only supposed to give an answer. Instead, he gave a whole lecture. If anyone else showed off this hard, they'd be absolutely roasted by the crowd. But Brody wasn't getting booed, and it was simply because he was him. His reputation was legendary, nothing but praise. The title Bug was just that famous. Valerie smiled, taking back the mic to make the announcement. Congratulations to Team 92 for their correct answer, securing them the first question and 10 points. Then, Valerie added a special compliment. Just what you'd expect from Bug. Hearing that, the entire venue just exploded. The crowd went wild, Brody soaked in the cheers, a grin spreading across his face. An impossible-to-hide smile. He then turned, shooting Luke a look filled with absolute contempt and pure disdain. That look practically screamed, "See that, this is my real power. How can you even compare?" But Luke looked completely unbothered by it all. Brody was definitely quick on the draw, hitting the buzzer before Luke even moved. But if Brody loved the spotlight so much, he couldn't blame Luke for stealing it later. Just then Lily, sitting beside him, muttered, "Bug is so amazing." Hearing that, Luke just laughed and said, "It's fine, we'll give them a head start." But he said this loud, really, really loud. So loud it went right through the microphones. And every single contestant and the audience heard it, all turning to look at his table, number 91. Feeling all those eyes on her, Lily shyly ducked her head, her face turning bright red. The director immediately swung the camera feed over to them, wanting to see who could make such a bold claim, but seeing this completely unfamiliar face, everyone was instantly suspicious. Who was this guy? Nobody knew him. The math world had never seen him before, a total nobody, and he dared to act so cocky in front of Yugi. People started criticizing him. Brody heard his statement and just let out a scoffing laugh. Shaking his head, he said, "An absolute idiot with more ego than brains." And right after he said that, the big screen flashed. Question number 2 appeared. And as everyone saw the new problem, all the teams grabbed their pens and got to work. Heads down, calculating, silence fell over the hall. While the first question was easy, the difficulty from here on out was about to multiply. Big time, otherwise, they wouldn't get 8 hours for just 10 questions. Even the genius himself, Brody, began scribbling frantically on his paper. Almost every single team in the hall was in a heated discussion. Lily, too, was clearly struggling with the problem, but as for Luke, he looked completely relaxed, without a care. Valerie saw this and couldn't help but sigh. She really wanted Lily to win first place. But unfortunately, her teammate was this guy, Luke Sterling. Then her eyes moved to the team in front of his, the middle-aged man who got that chill down his spine earlier. This team was just a scruffy uncle and a girl who looked like a high schooler. But according to intel from her superiors, this very uncle was actually a human trafficker here at the competition with his so-called daughter. The orders were clear. Let him finish the competition with the girl, then arrest him the second it was over. But while Valerie was lost in her thoughts, ding. Someone had already pressed the buzzer. The other contestants gasped, automatically assuming that Brody had buzzed in again. Wow, Bug's even faster now, a question this complex, and he solved it in a flash. But when everyone looked at Bug's table, they were absolutely stunned. Even Brody looked completely bewildered. Scanning the room to find out which team could have possibly pressed the buzzer, the contestants were lost. So who was it then? After a moment of searching, the contestants were stunned to find the person who had actually buzzed in. It was completely unexpected. It was Luke, the same guy who made that absurd claim just a little while ago. Lily was in shock. She had just finished writing the word solve and hadn't even fully grasped the question yet. She couldn't believe he'd just pressed the buzzer. The host, Valerie, also noticed and asked with clear annoyance, "Luke, did you accidentally touch the buzzer?" But he just grinned, raising his hand. "No, I want to answer." Hearing that, Brody, sitting right next to him, couldn't help but laugh out loud. An idiot, a total idiot. He almost admired this level of delusion. The live audience and everyone watching the stream heard his confident declaration and absolutely erupted with laughter. Where did this clown even come from? It was hilarious. Comments on the live stream just flooded in with pure mockery. Not a single person thought he was genuinely trying to answer the question. Everyone assumed he just wanted to show off. In the hall, Valerie just sighed, looked at Luke and said, "Each team only gets one chance to answer. If you answer incorrectly, this question is completely off the table for you." "Are you absolutely sure you want to do this, Luke?" 100%, he confirmed. The crowd immediately booed. Valerie just shook her head, helpless. "All right then. Team 91, please provide your answer." Luke simply picked up the microphone. He said the answer to the second question is 9. After he finished speaking, Valerie sluggishly turned to the official answer key provided by the organizers. The instant her eyes hit the screen, they shot wide open in disbelief. At that same moment, all the other teams were still scribbling away furiously, having completely written him off as some sort of joke. But just then, Valerie's voice rang through the entire hall. "Congratulations to Team 91 for providing the correct answer, solving the question, and earning 10 points." The second she finished that sentence, the whole hall went completely silent. A few seconds passed, and then the entire venue and the live stream exploded. Was that for real? Did he actually get it right again? Impossible. A question that no one else had solved yet. How could he possibly know the answer? You didn't even have to think about it. The guy never touched his pen. It had to be a guess. The live stream was a wall of comments. Every single viewer thought he just got lucky. After all, the calculations for the second question were many times harder than the first. Most teams had already filled several sheets of paper, their calculators practically smoking from use. And they still hadn't found the final result. Yet Luke, without touching a pen, had somehow calculated the answer in his head. Next to table 91, Valerie had an expression of pure disbelief. After a long moment, she finally reacted. "This kid's luck is just off the charts." Then she changed her tone. "Don't try to randomly guess the next one. Don't say I didn't warn you." Luke, you're so amazing. You actually guessed it right, Lily said in total shock. Her face was a picture of disbelief. No big deal, he chuckled. But Brody, right beside him, gritted his teeth in fury, cursing Luke 1,000 times in his head. Brody had worked so hard, just about to calculate the answer. But then the result was instantly snatched away by Luke. It's like working your whole life. Finally saving enough to buy a house for your kid, only for someone else to win a house in a raffle right next door in the same neighborhood. Wouldn't you be mad? Bianca, right beside him, tried to comfort him. It's okay, Brody. Luck can't always smile on fools. He got lucky this time, but that doesn't mean he'll be lucky forever. Brody, of course, didn't care. He'd been in so many competitions, his mental state was already rock solid. A small thing like this wasn't going to affect him. Lucky you, hope that luck lasts forever. Brody sneered at Luke, putting on the air of a superior looking down on the weak. Are you sick? Luke just rolled his eyes, saying you. Brody was so mad he was about to lose it. At that moment in the hall, the third question appeared on the giant screen. Every single contestant stared intently, their brains firing on all cylinders. You could hear the sound of pages flipping, calculators clicking, and furious writing echoing everywhere. All these sounds mixed together, creating a wild symphony in the hall. Luke glanced at the question, and instantly, formulas and numbers began to swirl before his eyes. Every single path, every possible solution method appeared clearly in his mind. About 30 seconds later, Lily next to him suddenly said, "Oh no, I messed up. The value I got for this step is 0.4. That makes no sense," Luke replied while still calculating. Having decimals is normal. Lily blinked her big eyes, but I'm calculating the number of people on a bus. Oh right, Luke looked at the problem again, and just as he was about to explain it, Brody's mocking laughter cut in from beside him. As expected. In the face of true power, luck is completely worthless. Don't get it? Let me teach you. Replace arcsin with the arctan function and try it. Lily was a bit skeptical, but she did what he said and swapped out the function. Then her eyes lit up as she politely said, I got an integer. Thank you. Seeing this, Bianca frowned. Not because she was mad that Brody helped an opponent, but because Lily's demeanor suggested she was really here to compete. Could it be that Luke being with her wasn't just to make her jealous, that he wasn't playing hard to get either? The doubt flashed through her mind, but Bianca didn't dare to overthink it and quickly refocused on the exam question. And thanks to Brody's little performance just now, answering Lily's question, the whole atmosphere in the room began to shift. The teams that were whispering quietly before now had people starting to ask questions out loud. Oh man. I'm calculating the bus's speed limit, but why doesn't my answer match the reverse deduction? Hearing this, Brody knew it was his time to show off. He cleared his throat and said loudly, That's because you forgot to factor in the friction between the tires and the road surface. And not long after, the other guy replied, absolutely overjoyed. Thank you, Brody. Questions started flying one after another. What was meant to be a serious competition now felt like a cue and a session. This made the audience in the livestream go absolutely wild. Oh my God, what am I seeing? Brody is actually helping the other teams solve the problems. Meet Bug, a young genius whose reputation is absolutely deserved. And then there's Luke, standing there silent like a statue. He doesn't even dare to make a sound. The difference is night and day. Just pure luck, and he had the nerve to act tough, saying he'd give Brody a head start. Absolutely shameless. While everyone praised Brody, they also took the chance to tear Luke down. To them, he was just some freeloader riding on pure luck. In the competition hall, Brody soaked in the admiration from everyone around him. His ego massively satisfied, a wave of superiority washed right over him. He had the answer. Just then, Bianca celebrated as Brody spoke dismissively, This question is way too childish. And just as he raised his hand to hit the buzzer, bam. Luke was one step faster and slammed it first. See, Luke had the correct answer the whole time. He just wanted to give the other contestants a chance to shine, which is why he hesitated to press it. Brody mocked, "You don't think I'll be angry, do you?" He thought Luke slammed the buzzer first just to get a rise out of him, but so what? Brody already had the answer to this question, and the result was ridiculously complex. There's no way he believed Luke could guess it correctly by chance. The audience in the venue and watching online saw this, and they all lost it. They thought Luke was just trying to cause trouble, cursing him out in unison. "This guy is just making a scene, daring to go up against our own guy." "Get him," the chat exploded, people thinking Luke just wanted fame. Doing anything for clout, but someone reasoned. The MC said the answer is super complex. There's no way he can guess it, just wait for him to give a wrong answer. The points will go to Brody in the end, so just chill. Don't even swear at him, you're just giving him the attention he wants. Smart point, for this kind of attention-seeking maniac, the very best method is to just ignore him. Viewers were convinced Luke wanted fame, that he was using this trick just for attention, and everyone actually listened. In an instant, the hate comments about Luke dropped off, back at the competition stage. Valerie walked up to Luke and said calmly, "Team 91. Please provide your answer for the third question." She knew that since Bug himself was about to press it, he obviously had the correct answer already. So this question was a done deal, but if he wants to stand out so badly, she'd make him famous. Under everyone's disgusted stare, Luke slowly read out the answer. The answer to this question is E13. Hearing this, Valerie's jaw just dropped. Her face was pure and utter shock. She had seen the answer key, and it matched exactly what Luke said, word for word. Congratulations to Team 91 for the correct answer, successfully securing the third question and earning 10 points. Valerie held the mic, so stunned she could barely even speak. The other contestants and the audience heard the right answer and were just completely floored. The entire hall erupted into total chaos. No way, he guessed it right again. Even if you beat someone to death, nobody would believe he guessed such a complex answer. Could he really be a genius, even better than Brody? Luke hasn't touched a single pen this entire time. If he can solve a question this hard, just mental calculation. Is he even human? He has to be cheating. At that moment, pure panic flashed in Brody's eyes. His blood pressure shot up. No matter what, he refused to accept what was happening. He told himself this kid was definitely cheating. Brody slammed his fist down, roaring. Luke from Team 91 hasn't touched a single pen, let alone used any kind of calculator. So on what basis did he get the correct answer? I'm asking all you math lovers out there. If it were you, could you possibly solve that in your head? The second he finished, the entire competition hall just exploded. It turned into chaos. Everyone started whispering, discussing what they saw. Valerie snapped out of her daze, suddenly feeling that something was very wrong. As a veteran mathematics researcher, she was absolutely certain that a question of this difficulty could never be solved purely by mental calculation. Guessing was even more impossible. With such a complicated answer, the chance of guessing correctly is less than 1 in 100 million. Could he really be cheating? Valerie frowned. The more she thought, the more possible it seemed. The Sterling Empire held power all over the country, and in Cloud Sea City, they were practically gods. This small math contest was being held right here. For the Sterling family, rigging something like this would be as easy as playing. And right at that moment, someone in the audience suddenly shouted out, "I'm a local, I know this Luke guy, he's the only son of the Sterling Empire. The future heir to the entire Sterling family." So of course, he used his connections to just memorize the answers beforehand. The second that sentence was spoken, the whole competition hall and the online live stream went absolutely wild. Who doesn't know the Sterling Empire? They're the most powerful business group in the whole country. When Luke's identity was exposed, the comments on the live stream exploded, completely covering the screen. No wonder he didn't even need a pen. He just fluently recited the answers to 2 questions. Turns out he cheated, just another trashy rich boy using his family's influence. What right does he have to be here? The crowd chanted for him to get out. People were demanding Luke's immediate disqualification from the entire competition. They were even guessing the whole thing was sponsored by the Sterling family. Without his family name, this Luke guy wouldn't even be qualified to lick Brody's shoes. Bianca looked at Luke with a cold, disgusted sneer. Just as she thought, only knowing how to use his family's power and dirty tricks to get by in this world. Pure disgust was written on her face. All her earlier doubts about him were suddenly answered in that single moment. Suddenly showing up next to other girls. Teaming up at the school gates, spending a fortune just to steal the 5 tutors that she had hired, and now this. Cheating his way in by memorizing answers, it was all to get her attention. The hate online grew fiercer by the second. All the pressure shifted onto the competition's organizers. Backstage, the person in charge was dumbfounded. Luke cheated. He claimed he didn't know anything about it. If he had known the young Sterling master was competing, why on earth would he even need to cheat? He'd just hand him the first-place prize. Problem solved, but if no backdoor deal was involved, that meant only one thing. He needed no explanation. The answers came from his own calculations. It had absolutely nothing to do with the organizers. Seeing the audience's anger boil over, the person in charge took action. He told the judges to handle the situation however they saw fit. Receiving the order, Valerie grabbed the microphone and walked straight up to him. She said, "Team 91, could you explain your solution process? Answers are easy to memorize, but solving them is extremely complex." The third question was dense with advanced knowledge. She was sure he hadn't memorized it. At her challenge, the audience immediately erupted in cheers and applause. Yeah, well said, someone who cheated with connections to memorize answers. Couldn't explain the process in a million years. They never expected the judges to be so bold, directly challenging the powerful Sterling family. I'm a fan. The internet exploded, praising Valerie's move. If he couldn't explain the solution, his shameless act of cheating would finally be exposed. Stinking sewer rat, let's see you talk your way out of this one. Brody mocked him with a vicious sneer, but our hero wasn't wasting time. He simply took the microphone. With every eye in the room fixed on him, he began. There are 13 total methods to solve this question. Among them, the simplest is to use indefinite integrals to find the limit. Calculate the bus's maximum travel speed. Then just use Linux's formula. In that instant, the entire massive hall echoed with only his voice. He didn't just explain all 13 methods, he broke down every formula, every detail. Explaining them with crystal clarity, especially when it came to the most complex calculations. He never hesitated, the exact results just poured out of him. It was over in the blink of an eye. His calculation ability was terrifying. His logical analysis, his application of every formula. It was on another level. Everyone in the hall just stared, jaws on the floor, completely frozen in shock. And those are all the known solution paths. The moment he put the microphone down, the entire audience went into shock. In the hall online, everyone stared at him, their faces stunned. Not a single person in the venue made a sound. They truly couldn't believe what they just heard. Clear thinking, flawless steps, applying formulas as smoothly as breathing. It was even more perfect than the official answer key, laying out all 13 methods without missing a thing. Not one tiny detail. It was absolutely terrifying. Is it even possible that he memorized every single solution by heart? I don't think that's realistic. There are 10 questions. Each one has multiple different solution methods. If he really memorized it all, the workload would be absolutely massive. Agreed. Even if Luke did memorize it, his memory must be monstrous. Could it be we were wrong about him? Is Luke a real genius? One commenter wrote, look, anything is possible. 10 questions is a lot, but if he started memorizing months or a whole year in advance, he could have pulled it off. The comment section was on fire. Some believed he had genuine talent. Others were convinced he had prepared for months or even a year just to memorize those exact answers. By providing math guidance on the spot, his actions had just influenced 485 people. The reward, 48 more hours of life. A notification chimed in his head and his heart swelled. How could he have forgotten? After his math skill hit max level, he could also receive rewards simply by teaching. But according to the system, there was a catch. It had to be on-site, face-to-face instruction. Opening a live stream for online courses was out of the question. Meanwhile, Brody was sweating buckets. His fists clenched so tight and his teeth grinding so hard they could have shattered. He never expected that the main character not only could state the solution, but could lay out every single method to solve the problem. Impossible, he must have memorized the steps in advance. Deep down, Brody refused to admit he could be defeated by someone he'd always seen as beneath him. Just then, Valerie grabbed the microphone, her voice trembling slightly. "Dear contestants and audience, an unexpected incident has occurred. At the request of the Dragon Kingdom Academy of Sciences, we are canceling all 7 remaining exam questions. The professors will instead design brand new questions right now." As she spoke, 3 new figures appeared on the large screen. They were dignified academic elders with brilliant white hair. After seeing these 3, the entire venue absolutely erupted with excitement. "Oh my God, isn't that Professor Walter of the Dragon Kingdom Academy? No way, and that's Professor Lei, the Global Nobel Prize winner. Professor Wu is here too. This is insane. The 3 giants of the Dragon Kingdom's math world have all shown up. Incredible. What kind of god-tier lineup was this? The biggest bosses in math all here. Nobody ever dreamed of seeing these 3 at such a small-time competition. It was the honor of a lifetime. These men were legends in the Dragon Kingdom's math scene, with countless international awards to their names. Even geniuses like Brody had been trained by them. Seeing his 3 mentors, Brody looked like a wronged child who just found his parents, nearly crying. At that moment, the aged voices of the 3 professors filled the room. "Hello, everyone. We are simply ordinary people among thousands of math lovers. We heard that the competition held here in Cloudy City was facing some issues with fairness. So the 3 of us volunteered to design questions on the spot, to contribute in our own small way to the academic environment. Please forgive us for any inconvenience." Hearing a speech like that, everyone was overcome with pure respect. That grace, that vision, it was what you'd expect from the Dragon Kingdom's finest. "Kids, you're dead meat," Brody glared at our hero and said coldly. With the 3 masters working together, the first new question was quickly created. When the screen lit back up, the entire audience gasped. They saw the new problem and couldn't believe it. This was just a small-scale math contest, with most of the contestants being high school kids. But the question the professors just came up with had a difficulty comparable to a world-class championship. Teams everywhere started to panic. This problem was on another level entirely. Some students beamed, others despaired. But with his world tournament experience, Brody was a different story. He couldn't help but let out a loud laugh. This was hard, but for him, it was only a matter of time. He grabbed his pen, writing furiously. But Lily just glanced at the question and gave up. "Luke, it's too much. It's so hard I don't even get the question." But when she turned her head, she was shocked to see Luke staring at the screen with a serious look. "Leave it to me," he said calmly. Lily couldn't help but cover her mouth. Seeing his calm demeanor, she wondered, could Luke really solve this? About 2.5 minutes later, Bianca's voice cut in beside them. "Brody, don't rush, take your time with the calculation." But Brody's brow was knit. His eyes were glued to the scratch paper, his pen completely still. The writing had stopped. He had clearly hit a wall, hearing Bianca's voice. Brody quickly pretended to be relaxed. "It's fine," he said, "just a small issue." I'm using double integrals, but I can't seem to calculate it. This can't be right. Before he even finished, a voice rang out nearby. Every detail here suggests you should use double integrals for the calculation. But in reality, that's just a trap. The needed parameters aren't provided. Continuing down that path will only lead you to a dead end. Why not try something more basic from junior high? Use a quadratic equation with one variable. Use that to break this barrier and see what happens. The second those words were said, Brody immediately looked up. Who said that? Turning his head, he saw him. It was Luke, looking at him with a slight smile. The hint was clearly his. Brody's face flushed bright red. When he looked back at the paper, he found that a simple quadratic equation could, in fact, calculate the value he needed. Boom, it was like his entire world just exploded at that very moment. All of Brody's arrogance was mercilessly crushed by Luke. I don't need you to teach me, Brody roared, losing his cool. You have successfully provided mathematical guidance to others on the spot. Your actions have influenced one person. Reward, lifespan increased by 2 minutes. Seeing Brody's total mental breakdown made Luke feel fantastic. You don't want his help. How could that be? He was counting on Brody to grind his lifespan meter. Luke cleared his throat. Immediately, his loud, clear voice echoed throughout the entire exam hall. Oh my, this question seems a bit difficult. But analyzing it closely, you can see it's just an applied problem. It simply combines knowledge from junior high, high school, and of course, college. So where to begin? Double integrals seem like the obvious first step. But after a bit of calculation, you'll see they're nothing more than a trap. The correct approach is to directly substitute a quadratic equation with one variable. Then we get the first required parameter. Right after that, we take it. And we use the parameter we just found and plug it into the next step. Listening to his analysis, the other contestants were stunned at first. What was the meaning of this? If you're solving it, just solve it. Why shout? But after thinking for a second, they got it. Luke wasn't just solving it. He was teaching all of them how to solve it. Then, a scene that shocked everyone unfolded. It happened. The contestants, once totally lost like chickens with their heads cut off, were now all writing like their lives depended on it. He'd say one sentence about the solution, and they would all furiously write it down. Even a military march couldn't be this perfectly synchronized. The contestants wrote while whispering, brilliant. Brody was also totally lost in praise. Damn it, this is just too brilliant. How can it be this good? Brody cursed and sighed, his pen waving nonstop. He was terrified that if he fell behind for even a second, he wouldn't be able to keep up with Luke's solution. He wanted to stop, but his body completely refused to listen. For a true math lover like him, he just had to solve the puzzle in front of him. Bianca looked over at Brody, writing like a madman, then back to Luke talking endlessly, and then it hit her. He wasn't playing hard to get. He wasn't trying to provoke her on purpose. And he definitely didn't cheat just to memorize the answers. He was here to compete for real, everything that happened before. That was just her being narcissistic. It seemed he really had no intention of pursuing her anymore. Before, Bianca would have been overjoyed. But now, a weird sense of loss hit her heart. It wasn't much, but it was there. The audience on the live stream were also stunned. No one dared to question his real ability anymore. Holy cow, did I see that right? Is Luke actually teaching them how to solve this? You saw right. Mother of God, this world is insane. I need to calm down. The whole scene playing out in the hall had completely convinced all the viewers, especially with 3 professors from the Dragon Kingdom Academy of Sciences watching over everything. The fairness of this contest was absolute. He relied on his own skill to clear the first 2 questions. On the screen, the 3 professors from the academy also wore expressions of complete disbelief. They had poured so much work into this question, but never expected him to solve it instantly. At that moment in the stadium, Valerie stared at his handsome face. his analytical voice echoing in her ears, a clear hint of admiration hidden in her eyes. Meanwhile, Luke was still explaining the problem-solving mindset. Then, a notification. You have successfully provided mathematical guidance to others on the spot. Your actions have influenced a total of 484 people. Reward, lifespan increased by 48 hours. Hearing that sound, he was so thrilled his eyes almost rolled back. Awesome, he just earned another 2 days of life. This was way too easy. But when he continued explaining, the system gave no more rewards. It meant one question could only give lifespan once. He couldn't help but feel a bit let down. This lifespan was also way too hard to earn. And since that was the case, he had no reason to waste any more time. He immediately slammed the buzzer. Seeing him choose to answer, all the other contestants showed looks of pure agony. Oh man! Without you, how are we supposed to do this question? At that moment, Brody was sweating buckets, his eyes totally bloodshot. His whole body fell into a state of near madness. For a second, Brody felt his past 10+ years of life, wear model, was all in vain. Valerie jogged right up to him with a microphone, smiling. Team 91, please provide your answer. With every eye in the room on him, he took the microphone and stated, the answer to this question is e to the power of 12. The moment he spoke, the entire hall fell completely silent. Nobody had a clue if that answer was even correct. Valerie looked at the 3 professors on the screen and asked, respected professors of the Academy of Sciences, may I ask if Team 91's answer is correct? Professor Lee didn't hesitate. Correct, absolutely correct. And not just that, Team 91's problem-solving approach. Their teamwork and application of formulas, and their calculation speed can all be considered perfect. I feel that in this competition, the championship definitely belongs to Team 91. The instant he finished, the whole hall exploded. Everyone agreed with Professor Lee's assessment. The logic was simple. This whole competition had become his personal masterclass. Who else could even compete? The other contestants knew it too. If it weren't for his hints and explanations for this exact question, they all probably would have just written the word solve and given up. Just then, a contestant suddenly shouted, I think we should just award the championship to Team 91. That one voice started an avalanche of support from thousands of others. Contestants began echoing the sentiment. Team 23 agrees the championship should be awarded to Team 91. Team 34 agrees. Team 51 agrees, agreed. In an instant, waves of agreement rolled through the stadium. The organizers had never seen anything like this before. This was a first. They immediately gathered all judges and staff for an emergency meeting. About 10 minutes later, Valerie returned to the stage. She held the microphone and announced excitedly, Dear contestants, after a discussion with our upper management, we have decided to directly award the championship to Team 91. Hearing the news, the hall erupted with thunderous applause and cheers. Everyone there looked at him with eyes full of admiration. Yay! We're the champions, this is awesome. Luke, you're unbelievable. Lily jumped for joy. He just smiled gently, keeping his cool. And then a system notification chimed inside his head. You have successfully won the championship in a math competition. Tournament level B reward, lifespan increased by 7 days. Reward 1 mystery gift box, 7 days of lifespan, and the long-awaited mystery gift box. Fantastic, he jumped up, losing his composure. Lily looked at him and burst out laughing. Weren't you just saying to stay calm? Bianca watched the two of them celebrate. A tinge of sadness creeping into her eyes as her whole body just went still. For her, it felt like dealing with some punk on a modified bike who chased her every day. She despised him, constantly making things difficult for him, just wishing he'd vanish from her world. And then suddenly, one day, he becomes a one-of-a-kind genius. Acknowledged, respected, and praised to the point where even she wasn't worthy of being compared to him. Only he didn't have dyed blonde hair, and the vehicle he rode wasn't some cheap bike, it was a Rolls-Royce. On the stage, he and Lily stood side by side, their faces beaming with smiles. The stage lights shone down on them, the cheers echoing endlessly in their ears. Bianca watched the perfect fairy tale scene, her eyes filled with something else. All right, you and I are watching the crowd glaze over as staff members approach. The other carries the first place trophy. Valerie takes the mic, flashing a smile. She congratulates the duo for securing that massive first place victory. And of course, the $200,000 in cash. Then, Valerie whispers. She leans in, asking if Luke has considered cutting ties with his father. Luke is stunned. Is she serious? Does she even know what she is saying? Shouldn't he give an acceptance speech? Instead, he is somehow losing his dad. Valerie realizes she accidentally blurted out her true thoughts and panics. She quickly corrects herself, asking if he wants to share the good news. They have a live video call set up right there on the stage. She wants the father to see his son's golden moment, but Luke instantly refuses. He shakes his head. His old man thinks he is only here for Bianca. If Dad finds out he brought home a trophy instead of the girl. Luke's legs are as good as broken. The man has terrifying standards. Seeing his refusal, Valerie turns the opportunity over to Lily, who accepts. Lily dials her mother immediately. The screen flickers to life, revealing the truth. The audience sees a simple, empty house. It is clear they are poor. The impression of struggle is immediate. This family has next to nothing. A paralyzed woman lying in bed slowly appears on the blurry screen. It is obviously an old, cheap smartphone capturing the low-quality video feed. When the mother learns her daughter won $200,000, the woman in her 50s can't hold back the flood of tears. In front of millions of live viewers, she begins to pour her heart out. She tearfully recounts Lily's impossible hardships and the misfortunes they faced. As her voice echoes through the hall, a heavy silence falls over everyone. What a resilient girl. You and I can see she is forced to grow up fast. At her age, she should be carefree. Instead, she became her family's hope. She carried the burden of a broken home on her small shoulders. Audience members can't hold it back. Some start sobbing right there. The call ends, and a wave of thunderous applause erupts throughout the venue. This wasn't for the win. It was for Lily's spirit and strength. When the noise dies down, Lily looks at Luke with a tearful face. She thanks her classmate, Luke Sterling, revealing he knew she was struggling. He insisted on teaming up, using his real talent to carry her to victory. Without Luke's help, winning this championship would have been an impossible dream. Lily bows deeply to him on stage, a sincere thank you to her hero. The crowd goes wild again. Another round of applause thunders through the air. People are shocked. Who knew a rich kid like Luke could be so kind? He is completely shattering every stereotype they had about the elite upper class. One skeptic wonders if Luke was just after the prize money himself. But the internet fires back. He is a sterling. Money is nothing to him. To them, Luke is the GOAT, a total savage with a heart of gold. Hearing the praise, Luke suddenly feels a wave of guilt washing over him. His image is collapsing. If his father hears people calling him kind, the old man will beat him for being soft. Stick with us for more. The award ceremony ended, and Lily clutched the bank card, her face beaming. Looking incredibly happy, she said, "Luke, thank you so much for this. Please let me treat you to a meal." The card held $200,000 in prize money. And he gave it all to her. After all, he wasn't exactly hurting for that kind of cash. Lily didn't argue, graciously accepting his kindness. At the same time, she secretly resolved in her heart that she would definitely repay him one day. "Sure," he replied, "I won't hold back. Guess I'll order an extra Pepsi." He smiled, knowing full well that resilient girls like her had very high self-esteem. If he refused her kindness, she'd see it as nothing more than charity. And sure enough, seeing him agree, Lily smiled from the bottom of her heart. "Great. Follow me. I work part-time around here, so I know which places are clean." Guided by Lily, the two of them walked toward the B1 food court in the mall. But not long after they left, a gloomy-faced man in a baseball cap appeared. He watched the direction they went, his hands pushed deep in his pockets. And then he began to tail them. Meanwhile, back at the stadium, Valerie was hosting. Suddenly, she noticed the suspect she'd been monitoring had disappeared. Her heart skipped a beat, and she immediately spoke into her communicator. "Oh no," she whispered into her collar mic, "the suspect is gone, only. His daughter who was competing is left here," a voice quickly responded. "Copy that," it said through her Bluetooth earpiece, requesting all units to immediately check if the suspect has appeared in the vicinity. About 30 seconds later, a report came in, "Suspect spotted. He is following the pair of students who just won the award down to the B1 mall level. I am secretly tailing him." Hearing this news, Valerie's heart jumped into her throat. She recalled the cold glare that the man had given Lily earlier. An awful premonition rose in her heart. "Don't alert him, I'll be right there." Saying that, Valerie handed off the microphone. She gave it to another judge, made a quick excuse to leave, and then she hurriedly ran down to the B1 level. Luke and Lily had just arrived at a noodle shop. Uncle Wang, 2 bowls of hand-pulled noodles with eggs and add some sausages. And 2 chilled Pepsis, please. Lily waved her hand, ordering generously. "Well now, Lily," the owner teased, "is this your handsome boyfriend?" He looked at Luke, praising him endlessly. As soon as he spoke, other owners gathered. The vendors from nearby stalls all rushed over. "What? Lily has a boyfriend. What does he look like? Let me see." Another said, "He looks like a good kid. The boy Lily likes must be a good one." At that, Lily's face flushed bright red. She hurriedly waved her hands at everyone. "No, no, he's not, just a normal friend." The vendors all gave her that knowing look, then laughed and went back to their stalls. Luke stood by and teased, "You're really close to everyone here." The blush on Lily's face hadn't faded. She shyly replied, "Yeah, I've worked part-time at almost every shop here. Everyone knows my family's situation is difficult, so they all take great care of me." Luke nodded, and right then, he suddenly remembered. He still had that mystery gift box he hadn't opened yet from before. Taking advantage of the wait for the food, he muttered internally to himself. Open the mystery gift box. Right after, a system notification sounded in his mind. Successfully opened, mystery reward received, the golden eye. All right, check this out. He clicks use, and strange energy flows into his eyes. Instantly, his eyes felt a cool and incredibly comfortable sensation. It spread through his optic nerves. He felt his vision range increase. Everything in his sight became sharp. It was all incredibly clear. He could see straight through walls now. Oh my God, actual X-ray vision. Luke was stunned. This mystery gift box really never let him down. Lily was sitting right across from him before he could even react. He saw something he definitely shouldn't have. His face turned bright red. He looked away out of respect. "Luke, what is wrong with you?" Seeing his face turn red, Lily asked him with a very curious look. "Were those vendors really that teasing? I just feel a bit hot suddenly." He kept fanning himself until his hand almost fell off from the effort. "Why do I feel cold?" Lily was puzzled as the air conditioning blasted. She felt a chill. Was Luke's internal heat really just that strong today? As she wondered about him, a man in a baseball cap was approaching. He held a cold, gleaming military dagger. Luke's expanded vision spotted him. He turned his head 90 degrees and looked straight at the guy. The other party paused. He didn't expect to be caught from that tricky angle. Since he was spotted, he stopped acting and lunged forward with force. He swung the knife toward Lily. "Watch out," Luke shouted out very loudly. He jumped up and delivered a flying kick to the attacker's weapon arm. The man let out a muffled groan. The heavy military dagger hit the floor. The clatter was so loud that every diner in the area looked over. "What is going on? Is this a movie? Hey, let me be an extra. I do not even need to be paid," some passing diners joked around. The man grabbed his dagger, staring at Luke with icy and chilling eyes. He couldn't believe a high schooler had such incredible martial arts skills here. Lily stood up in a panic. She didn't understand what was happening yet. Luke didn't look back. Just get away from here, he told her firmly. His X-ray vision showed the man was covered in scars and bullet wounds. The killer had rough calluses and a brutal military weapon in his grip. Luke racked his brains. Why would a poor girl provoke a guy like this? She was just ordinary. Freeze, don't move. Suddenly, 3 men in plain clothes. But wait, things get even crazier as 3 plainclothes officers suddenly surround them. Seeing this, the man didn't panic. There were too many diners around. If they dared to shoot and he dodged, a bullet would hit someone. Any unlucky bystander could be hit. The cops obviously knew the danger too. One officer shouted, "Police operation. Everyone needs to evacuate this area now." As he spoke, a worker covered in dirt stood his ground and yelled, "Evacuate for what? I have been carrying heavy cement all morning long. I am exhausted to the bone. I finally got to eat my lunch. Who is paying for my meal if I do not have energy to work? If construction is delayed, who takes the responsibility for the whole mess? You movie makers should pick a time with fewer people to film scenes." The other diners chimed in, thinking the whole dangerous scene was just acting. No one was backing down. The cops had no choice but to put their guns away. Instead, they pulled out buzzing stun batons. "Jack Collins, you are surrounded. I advise you to drop your weapon and surrender immediately, Jack. Think about your daughter, it's not too late," 2 cops tried to persuade him. What a cliché line. The nearby cement worker just muttered in disgust, "But Jack." The suspect actually wavered for a moment when he heard the word daughter. But only for a second. Something clicked and his eyes filled with pure rage. His killing intent returned. "Ah," he roared, charging straight at the young man who stood. Blocking his path to Lily, 3 officers immediately jumped in to intercept. But no one expected this. Jack took them all down in mere seconds. Just a few swift moves, and it was over. The 3 cops lay flat on the ground. Their faces twisted in agony, and not far off, Valerie was watching from the shadows. She observed everything quietly. As an undercover agent, she couldn't risk blowing. Her cover not in front of this kid. Wait, a military tri-dagger. Valerie's blood ran cold. She recognized the weapon, thinking back to how easily Jack handled those 3 cops. Valerie grabbed her communicator, her voice tight with tension. She requested all units to speed up backup. This suspect was no amateur. He was likely a discharged Special Forces operative, armed with a military knife. "It's not safe to shoot here. Everyone be careful," a surprised voice came through her earpiece. "What discharged Special Forces? Why would a Special Forces soldier kidnap a child from over a decade ago?" Hearing the question, Valerie was also puzzled. But she had no time to think about it. The most important thing now was to bring this criminal down. If a man like this goes berserk, the entire B1 level of this mall could easily become a bloodbath. After Jack took down the cops, his cold eyes locked back onto our hero. "Yeah," he shouted. He launched a second, lightning-fast attack. The young man was about to step forward and deliver a flying kick, but suddenly another cop charged in from behind him. The officer pulled the kid back. "It's dangerous here, get out of here." And with that, he charged Jack without a second thought. Thud, they collided hard. Jack landed a solid punch right to the cop's face, knocking the man straight down to his knees. "Tough fists," our hero said calmly. Jack looked up. His murderous eyes glared at him. His voice was ice cold. "I don't want to kill innocents." "Don't get in my way," the student just smirked. "Make me." At this, Jack froze. Then absolute rage. He roared at the top of his lungs, a sound so loud it scared the nearby cement worker into dropping his chopsticks. Now this uncle had a short fuse. He pointed right at Jack's face and started cursing. "You bastard, what the hell are you screaming for? People are trying to eat here." Jack completely ignored the insults. His eyes were locked on our hero. Seeing he showed no sign of yielding, he gripped his weapon for a third attack. "If you won't get lost, then die." Not far away, Valerie was so anxious she could scream. Even though she knew he had skills, he was still just a high schooler. Pitting him against a highly trained special agent was like nothing less than a newborn baby fighting a muscular adult. There was absolutely no way he could win. "Luke, you massive idiot, is this the time to act tough?" Valerie cursed to herself, while calling for backup, but her closest teammate was still 2 minutes away. With backup minutes out and Luke about to be killed, Valerie knew she had to act. She whipped out her firearm, aiming the barrel directly at the suspect. To hell with her cover, she couldn't just stand by and watch Luke get murdered. It was her duty as an officer to protect people, just as Valerie decided to fire. An insane scene unfolded right before her, leaving her utterly shocked. Facing Jack's charge, Luke moved with inhuman speed, easily dodging the attack. He then ducked low, swung his fist with the velocity of a lightning bolt. A punch landed square in Jack's stomach. A loud bam echoed through the area. Jack let out a miserable scream, his body launched backwards like a broken kite. Whoosh, he flew directly toward a nearby communal dining table, the person. Sitting there was a cement worker uncle who just picked up his chopsticks. He'd grabbed some steaming noodles and was about to take a bite. Crash. Jack slammed hard into the table. Clatter, dishes and food were sent flying. Noodle soup spilled all across the floor. The cement worker held his chopsticks. Frozen midair, he paused for a long moment before finally snapping out of it. He threw the chopsticks down, pointed right at Jack, and started to yell, "You son of a..." Before he could even finish, Jack sprang to his feet like a seasoned martial artist. He instantly kicked the cement worker away, sending him flying, everyone around. Finally understood this wasn't some movie shoot, this was a real criminal chase. Run in an instant, hundreds of civilians scattered in a massive panic. "Tough fists," Jack sneered as he stood up. "Too bad they're useless against me." But before he even finished his sentence, he saw Luke leaping high into the air. His legs were crossed, coming down hard right on top of him, the flying crowd drop. With a loud shout, Luke's size 43 shoe stomped directly onto Jack's face. The strike slammed Jack's head hard onto the floor, his entire body going limp. He was completely passed out. A huge shoe print was now perfectly stamped on his face. Valerie was totally dumbfounded. Was this kid really that strong? A special agent that 3 cops couldn't handle, and Luke took him down. In just 2 moves, could Luke be some kind of natural-born fighting genius? Seeing the suspect knocked out, Valerie finally felt a huge weight lift from her shoulders. It was at that exact moment that over a dozen police officers finally rushed to the scene. They stared at the absolute mess before them and the unconscious suspect on the ground. The officers were baffled. Wasn't this guy supposed to be some martial arts expert? So why was he kissing the pavement? A notification then appeared only Luke could see. "You have successfully used violence to curb violence, spreading positive energy. Your actions have influenced 103 people. Reward, lifespan increased by 10 hours. Have you ever offended anyone before?" Luke turned and asked Lily. She immediately shook her head. "No, everyone here treats me very well. I've never had a conflict with anyone." Hearing this, Luke rubbed his chin, completely confused. "That's strange. Why would this guy want to harm you? Was he targeting me?" Lily asked. He was, Luke thought, completely speechless at how she couldn't see it. How could such a smart girl be so oblivious to the immediate danger she was in? Just then, a police officer walked over. "You 2 students, would it be convenient to come back to the police station with us to give a statement?" Luke sighed. It looked like he wouldn't be getting that premium noodle bowl today after all. They both nodded, and with sirens blaring, their car soon arrived at the local police station. Inside the conference room, Luke truthfully recounted exactly what happened. The officer taking the statement nodded and said, "Our initial assessment is that this suspect was after the $200,000 on your cards, planning a robbery in broad daylight. But the plan went sideways, and the criminal was spotted by Luke. That's when the suspect panicked, got desperate, and intended to kill. With that, the officer closed his notebook. Looking a bit shaken, he had to admit the kid's fighting skills were on another level. The suspect wasn't just some wanted man, he was a former elite from the special forces. Several of their own officers had been beaten into the hospital by him. Luke just scratched his head and smiled, calling it amateur stuff. After giving their statement, he and Lily walked out of the station. Just then, a middle-aged man with a steady presence approached them. "Little Luke, all done. Are you okay? Need me to have someone drive you home?" Luke recognized him instantly. This person was the chief of the station. He was all too familiar with this kind of situation. "I'm fine, Uncle. I can get back myself," he replied politely. "Good, just remember to send my regards to your father." The chief smiled warmly. Just as the chief was about to leave, something clicked. Luke turned around, looked at the chief and said, "Uncle, could you take my friend back to the mall? She works part-time there. If you can, send some people to protect her. I'm certain this Jack Collins wasn't after money. But after her life, it seemed there was some hidden secret surrounding Lily." Hearing this, the chief immediately agreed. "No problem at all. It just so happens our officers are heading there for patrol. We can drop her off on the way to serve the people." Lily bowed shyly. "Thank you, Uncle." After everything was settled, Luke took a leisurely walk home. The moment he pushed open the gates of the Sterling mansion, confetti cannons exploded. Straight ahead, dozens of servants stood in formation, with a festive red carpet rolled out on the ground. Fresh flowers lined the entire path, and a huge banner hung above, welcoming young Master Luke and Miss Bianca home. He stepped onto the red carpet, totally bewildered. "What is this? It looks like I'm about to get married." While he wondered, his parents' voices came from inside the house. "Oh my, Luke and Bianca are back." He saw his mother, Gloria Sterling, holding Richard's arm, walking out of the living room with huge smiles. They were dressed very formally, looking like they were attending a grand banquet. But their expressions changed when they saw it was only him. Instantly, the smile on his father's face vanished, replaced with a cold, stony glare. "Why are you the only one back? Where is Bianca White?" Luke suddenly realized. No wonder there was such a huge fuss. They thought he had brought Bianca back with him. "I never said I was bringing her with me," he muttered. "You useless brat, you already met her outside of school and you couldn't even bring her back. How could I, Richard Sterling, give birth to such a stupid son?" Richard roared in fury. His mother, Gloria, quickly rushed over. His wife tried to reason with him. "Chasing someone's daughter, you can't rush that. Especially when that someone is Aries of the powerful White family." She reminded him, "Remember chasing me? It took 3 whole years. 5 years before our first date, and don't even get me started on the 10 years it took to make our relationship official. Compared to you, our son is moving at lightning speed." Richard just pursed his lips. He could never forget his own father, calling him an idiot for a decade. All right, Richard waved his hand, deciding to drop the whole thing. But right as he finished speaking, his phone suddenly rang. "I haven't been a mob boss in years," Richard muttered, eyeing the caller ID. Frowning at the number, he answered with a gruff, "Who is this?" An older man's excited voice came bursting through the phone. "Boss Sterling, congratulations. This is Professor Walter from the Dragon Kingdom Academy of Sciences. Your son was an absolute star in the math competition this time. Not only did he crush it and win the championship, but he's a kind kid too. You have raised an incredible son. I've decided to take him on as my personal disciple and pour everything into nurturing him for the future. He will absolutely make a legendary name for himself, standing nearby, the son." Overheard all of this and shuddered.